The light is green.
We live?
The trap is clean.
Here we
And
go.
we are... yeah, we're live.
From the industrial wastelands of Michigan to the fruited plains of Iowa, this is
Live
the American
adventure in
Reach.
ship capacity.
You are the dead. Remain exactly where you are. Make no move until you are ordered.
We burn them to ashes and then burn the ashes. That's our official motto.
Now we can see you. Clasp your hands behind your heads. Stand out in the middle of the room. Stand back to back.
Who can explain the fascination of fire? What draws us to it, whether we're young or old?
Here comes a candle to light you to bed. Here comes a chopper to chop off your head.
And welcome to the American Reach Factory podcast. This is Nathan.
This is Conlon.
Andrew?
Tonight we have lots of exciting stuff to talk about. Weird 1980s Canadian hero movies.
Me and Andrew were going to talk about Iron Fist.
An Iron Fist.
No, the show Iron Fist.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's like a comic book hero show.
Yep.
Okay, and they got canceled.
Yep.
I know that much. I know that much.
That's all you need to know. Don't even watch the first
Has anybody else seen Manifest? I know I talked about that last time.
I fit in scanners. I've had a busy week.
That's all right.
I intend to watch some things, but we've been going and going and going.
And then, and Daredevil. I saw the first 3 episodes of the new season of Daredevil.
Oh, what'd you think of that?
They're pretty good so far. I think they do a good job of the whole Matt Murdock is a Catholic, trying to figure his shit out with God pretty well.
Yeah.
They have, was it Bullseye? Is that his like main villain?
Yeah, Bullseye, basically, yeah.
Well, not his main villain. Whoever Colin Farrell played in the movie.
Yeah, Bullseye.
So they have him. I'm assuming it's him show up, and he's an FBI agent, which is kind of interesting because I don't think he's always just kind of a crazy mercenary, isn't he?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
So that was like an interesting twist, and he seemed like a good guy. But then the last episode, they just all of a sudden at the end, it's like, oh, he's fucking crazy. Okay.
It was
But-
always just a different kind.
Yeah.
They should have cast Colin Farrell and then replaced him with the last segment with Johnny Depp. That's what they should have done. Make the audience really buy it.
But yeah, there's a part where Wilson Fisk is being transported, and he's under the cover of the FBI, and then it gets assaulted by basically like some military unit, and like basically all the cops, all the FBI agents get killed, and like out of nowhere, like all the Albanian military guys start getting like killed off, and you start to see him like you only see his like his legs, but you see him like shoot like he's bouncing bullets off his shit. And at some point he just like throws his gun at somebody rather than like because it's out of bullets, and he's like throwing knives and shit. It's like that's pretty cool, like because like he's a pretty ridiculous character in the comic books and even drawn that way, and here he's just like a dude who's a badass. So
Well, at least they haven't done the costume yet. I mean, at least keep
Yeah.
that away. I mean,
well, they don't really like Daredevil's kind of the only one that's like picked up a costume,
yeah, and it's
and even it took him like till the second season, or was it the end of the first season he gets the costume? I think it's the end of the first season.
in the
but-
first season, we didn't wear it till the second season.
Okay.
But I mean, at the same time, I mean, there's so much. I'm hoping that since Power Man is also canceled now, like they're not going to keep canning shows because their whole contract with Disney is anything new. Once Disney streaming is set up, goes directly to Disney streaming and bypasses Netflix. So if they do come out with the Heroes for Hire show with Iron Fist and Power Man, it'll be on the Disney streaming service. It won't be on fucking Netflix.
Yeah, I heard some because like Disney produces this stuff. It's not Netflix. Netflix just kind of buys it. So if it's being canceled, it's being canceled by Netflix, not necessarily Disney or anything like that. But yeah, I heard stuff like it's like Disney could like just pick it up but I think like Netflix will always have it on their service, but like Disney might be able to just like show it on their service or something. I don't know how it's gonna work, but But anyways, yeah, there is like some rumor that so they canceled Luke Cage and this show, Iron Fist, not Daredevil. We'll see how far behind Daredevil is and Punisher if they just cancel all the Marvel shows.
Better not.
And so there's a is it a comic book or is it called Heroes for Hire? Is that the
I don't think that's what the comic book's called. It's usually just called Luke Cage or like Iron Fist and Power Man or Luke Cage and Iron Fist. Their agency's Heroes for Hire.
Okay.
Whatever, so
it's like they're combining the productions into one rather than canceling both shows. That could be a possibility.
yeah, because everybody seems to think that team up episode they had was like the best episode between the two seasons of both the second seasons of both shows. That one where they're taking down the girl house for God damn, what was the evil guy's name for Luke Cage in the second season? I can't think of his fucking name. The Jamaican guy.
Yeah.
But they're taking down his grow house.
You fascist pigs, your brethren.
But like, I really liked the second season of Luke Cage. I thought it was actually kind of dark, and Disney doesn't really do dark well. For how adult this universe can be, I don't.
Well, I mean, all these shows have been dark for the Netflix Marvel shows, but
Yeah, but not a lot of them had public massacres in a dining hall and stuff like that.
yeah.
I mean, and then set it on fire afterwards and shit. Like, that was probably the darkest moment so far. And all, I mean, well, I guess Jessica Jones' first season.
Yeah, that had some dark shit. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, still, it's on
We're just
Netflix.
like telling families to go jump off roofs and shit.
I mean, technically it's dark, but at the same time, it's like I don't see them doing a Deadpool thing where it's like adult humor and gore and other shit like that wouldn't fly with them and their.
No, they have an aesthetic they're working with. So, although Punisher can get funny at some times, just because it's just over the top violence. But that's what you come there for.
Yeah, and I hope Punisher gets a second season unless
I think it's getting a second
unless they
season.
decide that his arc is done already, which wouldn't make any sense because he's.
Some people fucking love that Punisher show, and like I always say, I'll take the Punisher any form and get it. Like even when it's bad, I still like it. And I didn't think the first season was that great, as it's not as good as everyone says it is. But I think the dude playing the Punisher is like great for that role. Like they got the right people, at least somewhat. It's just they need better stories or whatever.
Well, it's always. I mean, they're doing the right thing of playing it more small and not going grandiose because it is television. It is the smaller scale urban areas they're concentrating on. But they're still following the same tropes as any fucking TV show where it's like an investigative murder series / superhero TV show for fucking like 12 episodes. Then it hurts it, but it also is fine. There's no like big superhero battles to be found that much anywhere. I mean, there's a few.
Yeah, because Punisher's it's more real, like more or less realistic.
Yeah, it's not him trying to like fight fucking. God damn, I'm trying to think of it. Like,
Satan.
Yeah, not trying to fight Satan with an automatic rifle. But yeah.
Although that would be an awesome show. Man fights Satan with AR-15.
But you can't make 13 episodes of the Punisher. I mean, it'd be really fun actually to have the Punishers lose it and go on a killing spree of superheroes for 13 episodes. But where do you go after that?
What are you, a superhero? I'm just one man with a gun.
It makes a difference.
Like
That's
him.
Harvey Oswald.
I mean, I've read comics where it's like, yes, the Punisher is literally trying to kill like fucking Iron Man or somebody like Captain America or something, and they're interesting comic books. But it's like, well, then you have to come down from that high and have the Punisher like try and take down the fucking
low-level
Russian
crime
syndicate.
dealer.
Yeah, it's like you can't really keep going back and forth between those lows and highs because everybody wants to see a fucking Punisher kill Spider-Man. They don't give two shits about him killing a fucking guy in a tracksuit. Okay.
Yeah, he just defeated a major hero, and now you're going after the local, mob syndicate. It's not as compelling.
Yeah, so we watched the second season of Iron Fist, and I didn't think to watch it until Andrew said I watched this, and I'm like, why didn't that show up on my Netflix feed? And I gave a thumbs down to the first season, so I think that's why they didn't like recommend it to me. It's like, oh, we know you don't watch it. It's like, oh no, I want to watch that train wreck. Don't worry.
I didn't like it. I didn't say I wouldn't watch it.
I definitely didn't say I wouldn't masturbate. That's not what I said at all. No, yeah, second season's okay.
Well, it's still a bad show, but it's better this time around. Like there's some things that they just do better. Like towards the end of the season, or I guess at the end of the season, it's like, oh, this is a pretty decent show. It's like it was struggling there. Like there's like in the first few episodes, there's like these heavy dramatic moments that I just literally laughed at because it's so fucking stupid and I didn't give a shit at all. You know, it's like I gotta be the hero of Chinatown, and then somebody gets hit by a bike, and it's like all this violence.
I laughed.
I can't stop it.
I laughed at the part in the first fucking episode where he was lamenting like some people being killed, but then he did nothing to stop the armored truck dealer from getting killed in the beginning of the fucking first episode, where he's like, I'll act now, minutes later after people are already dead.
After the cool shit happens, I'm gonna show up.
And then later he's bitching about, like, that guy died because of me. And it's like, 5 other people fucking died for you already. You need to fucking worry about their deaths, you asshole. But, I mean...
I make their deaths about me.
I was super psyched, though, when I actually guessed Typhoid Mary right away. As soon as, like, her character popped up and she introduced herself as Mary, I'm like, that's fucking Typhoid Mary.
Okay, was that? Walker? Is that?
Yeah, Walker.
Okay,
yeah.
like, who is that? Is, like, she a known...
Yeah, she's, like, a low-level mutant.
Oh, okay.
So she has like telekinesis, but also whatever starts stuff on fire. I can't. Pyromancy. But she also is like fucking schizophrenic. So like when anybody objectifies her or treats her like a sexual object, she like kind of switches personalities and like seduces them and kills them. At the same time, like her lovers have been Wolverine and Daredevil.
Okay.
And so it's like she's also like has super strength and great martial arts prowess. But it's like they kind of touch obviously on the martial arts prowess and the weapons and stuff, but they don't really say anything about pyromancy, telekinesis.
No, they seem to cut that out.
Well, I mean, I'm sure it's because of the mutant tie-in where it's like they don't have rights to the X-Men universe. Or wait, no,
she's almost more like a Split.
James McAvoy.
Yeah, where it's like, she has these different personalities that have different
powers.
Yeah, like strengths, and then she has one she doesn't know about where apparently she can just like murder people like effortlessly. Like she can murder an entire military outpost with a machete, but she doesn't know about it because like that's the big thing with her is that she like leaves like one of her identities leaves a message for the other one, and she's like, I have to thank you for getting us out of that hole in what's the fucking mystical country,
the Wachovia or whatever.
And then and then her character's like, what? Like I didn't get us out of that hole. It's like I thought you did. So there's like a hidden, apparently. But yeah, so I was wondering like if that character's been around. But they call her Mary Walker, which is she supposed to be related to Trish Walker at all, or is that just like
no? It's just literally that's her name.
Okay.
So I mean. I looked it up on Wikipedia on like the 3rd episode after it was like more established. Like she has personal or multiple personality disorder
or dissociative identity disorder. That's what they call it now. But I thought that wasn't a thing anymore.
I don't know.
It was like whatever the psychology thing where they determine like, hey, what's the new diseases and which old ones are debunked now. I thought that one was like a bunk one, but oh well.
Maybe. I mean, it's just something where I was kind of excited to see a villain that I've like, kind of known from some of the comic books and stuff, and haven't really heard a lot of in a while, and it was kind of a nice pull.
Yeah.
Because as far as Iron Fist villains go, it's like, well, there's not really any that I can think of off the top of my head. There's
like
other
exclusively Iron Fist?
Yeah, exclusively Iron Fist.
Okay.
There's not really any. There's the Hand, but that was already covered to death in the first fucking season.
Yeah, and they did that in Daredevil too. So.
Yeah, and it's like they don't need to cover that anymore. Kunlun's gone. I mean, they kind of have a enemy in the one guy, the Thunderer's son.
Yeah.
And shit, and I'm like, looking at the guy supposed to be playing the Thunder. I'm like, that's not a giant white dude like the guy looks like a blue bandana over his head. And they're all talking about like dying. I'm like, people in fucking Kung Lung are pretty much immortal. They live for fucking ever. It's like, then explaining to my wife how the whole fucking like how there can be like 2 Iron Fists at once and shit. And it was like, well, technically when Iron Fist takes the dragon heart, the dragon just disappears. And then as soon as the Iron Fist dies, the dragon reappears and the new champion comes to fight it. It's only when the Iron Fist is split that like Kung Lung like basically either disappears or starts to die and shit like that. And it's like a weird fucking thing in the comic books. Where,
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't really like that part of it. I kind of like the darker Iron Fist side of it where it explored that, but at the same time, I really hated the villain second season.
But yeah, there was something like, so a lot of problems I have with the show is like I don't think the acting's very good.
No, I fucking hate the guy they had to play Danny Rand. He's fucking not right for the part at all.
Well, I think like he could work. The thing I was thinking about is like the guy who plays Ward.
Yeah.
Like he's not a good actor, but he's like an okay comedian because he always has like the strangest like comedic like rebuttals and stuff. And it reminded me of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where it's like that show wasn't like jam packed with talent. They just like wrote clever lines for people to kind of get around like the sort of, clumsy production or cheap production and like, newish actors and stuff like that. Like they gave them kind of fun lines, and they still had like, the world is going to end and all that shit, but like they had fun with it. Here, there's no fun. It's just like really dire, dramatic lines given to people who cannot deliver them with any sort of gravitas or believability.
I like Ward fine. I don't really know if Ward and Joy are really that important to that show. Like they really need to exist past season. Even in season 1, they don't really need to exist.
No.
And it's
but like I said, like Ward doesn't like belong to the season, but like weirdly like the scenes he is, even though he's like a terrible character. Like his character is a terrible person, and like he's not a great actor, but he's always funny whenever he's in a fucking scene because it's like he doesn't want to be there, like as a human being, but he's making the best of it.
And Colleen Wing kind of needs to exist, but she dies in every fucking Iron Fist comic book for anything that really happens for the most part. Misty Knight needs to exist more in that universe.
Yeah, that's when the show started to get good, when she showed up.
And just fucking, I mean, you like seriously, if that show would have continued, you basically, if you would have kept Ward and Danny like in Asia with the gun fist and shit, and then Colleen and Misty Knight in New York with fucking doing their thing, I think that show would have worked better than the
Iron
season.
Fist sword, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because that was the thing I was like kind of anticipating. It was like, oh, they're gonna kill off Danny Rand, and like we're gonna have Colleen Wing. It's like she's a better actress than he is an actor, and there'll be a better continue the Iron Fist with her rather than him. And they did a thing, and then he shot some bullets with some 1911s that looked kind of really bad, but you're really excited about it because
it was just something.
But that to me that didn't mean anything because it's like he antagonizes a guy, and then the guy shoots a bullet at him, and then he just like pulls out 2 1911s and like shoots the bullets into the bullets. Like, yeah, that's gonna happen.
Well, practice.
No, it's just something I was excited about because it digs deeper into the lore, and it's just something where I think the whole aesthetic of them being in like basically unknown territory, going up against people and having new adventures that aren't cemented in like who killed who in New York every fucking week.
Yeah.
I would rather see that from that show for a while because the Iron Fist is really meant to be. I mean, I know he wants to protect New York and shit like that, but it's supposed to be more of like, hey, I go everywhere and fight evil.
Okay.
And so it might have like a little bit of like Indiana Jones kind of thing to it, / like Uncharted or some type of like wild kind of adventure to it, which would make it more interesting.
Yeah, it had promise, but a bad show got canceled, so what are we gonna do?
And then a mediocre show got canceled along with it.
Yeah. Yeah, Luke Cage is alright and it got canceled.
Huh.
But it might be a new show, we don't know.
Might come back. Yeah, those comic book things just seem to just reemerge all the time.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna drop it entirely.
Yeah, I don't know if this is just Disney throwing its weight around. Like that could be a thing too. Like they could be asking for way heavier fees to do this, and then Disney could be turning around. It's like, well, you don't have the show anymore, but we have the rights to this, so now we'll make it a show for our streaming service.
I mean, they're gonna.
It's just a trial run for their own streaming service.
If they're gonna.
Everyone's trying to do those now.
I mean, if they're gonna truly come up with a show with both of them or reboot them or whatever. I mean, the guy that played Luke Cage was pretty solid, and I liked him in that role.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to see him return. I mean.
But I mean, you think of all the IP that Disney has, like, you know, it makes sense for them to start a streaming service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think isn't it pretty much on the same level of payment wise as like Netflix and shit, basically.
Probably.
Where it's about like $12 or something a month.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably.
Not that I really want fucking Disney fucking taking $12 out of my goddamn bank counter.
I mean, they do it with your cable anyways.
I don't have cable.
Oh, then yeah, you're getting fucked. You just got to live off my account.
It's not what I would do, but okay. Like,
Did you guys see the trailer for Glass?
the second trailer.
The second, yeah, because there's like
Yeah, the
multiple.
second trailer. Yeah,
Yeah,
that looks interesting. I wonder if that'll be any good.
maybe.
I mean, Unbreakable was interesting. It had a lot of complex ideas. Split was James McAvoy did a great job. I didn't really love the movie.
Yeah,
I like James McAvoy in it because that's like challenging and weird to play that character.
well,
But then-
it did seem like M. Night Shyamalan was up his own ass.
no,
it seemed
no,
like it seemed like, oh, he's back in not necessarily form, but like at least he can put a movie together. And Split was like very inexpensive as far as I know.
yeah, it didn't cost a whole lot. I don't think.
Probably
I
had
mean, it
to
was
be
basically
for how
shot in
Last
a
Gracie was
couple
on
of
the
rooms.
Um,
But yeah, I don't know. I hope that's cool. It looks interesting. I'll see what the reviews are.
yeah, well, it comes out in January, so that's not good news. But
Yeah, but M Night Shyamalan is not like a. That's a name associated with a lot of shit now, so that
I
could
think
be.
studios might finally be like figuring out like maybe they want to drop a movie in a couple dead months. That way they make more money on it because they can't possibly go see every movie based on income or time during the summer.
well, I mean, it's
So
not
they're gonna have
there.
to space it out
There
a
is new room for a January movie because there's two movies that like showed that January could be successful.
little more.
That's Taken and Paul Blart Mall Cop.
That's your yeah, those are your leaders.
Because like I think it was the first one Taken came out. Like, you know, it did like I think it did like 15 million its first weekend, but then it
Yeah.
did 10 million for like 10 weeks straight after that, which is really unexpected for a movie to be like that long, and to have that kind of like consistency to like, oh, this is a hit movie, but you wouldn't think it because like usually a movie has to make $90 million in its opening weekend to just break even.
Yeah, that's a lot of legs. $10 million a week for 10 weeks. That's a lot of money, especially for a movie that wasn't supposed to be a success like
Yeah.
that one.
Now we just need to see Paul Blart Taken. That's the next logical.
I don't know, I never saw the sequel, so maybe.
Oh God, I would not. I know the sequel's bad, and I've only seen the trailer. So it can't be good, especially when it's just the same. Like I can't even remember the plot of the first one now, but I swear there's a love interest in there.
Oh yeah,
And then like the second movie, like that,
Case of the Nut Gays.
that woman's gone, and it's just a fat person married to another fat person, and they're both really happy on scooters. And I'm like, this is not like.
Get Melissa McCarthy in there.
No, it wasn't a named actress. It was just another.
Paula Blart.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
No, that's the third movie. It's
Paula Blart, hairdresser.
Yeah, they're gonna change the genders around and make another comedy.
No,
one.
it'd just be Kevin James in drag.
Yeah,
He really needs the money.
starring Melissa McCarthy as fuck. What's his name?
Kevin James.
Kevin James as Melissa McCarthy.
That's fat Melissa McCarthy.
in fuck, what was one of Melissa McCarthy's bombs? Fucking
Yeah.
What was that? One of the last ones where she's like this rich person that goes down for insider trading and shit.
Oh yeah, because that's just like it's like Angelica. It's just like one name. I can't remember. There's that one with like her daughter cheese balls.
They're back, and it's in the classic container.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Cool. I'll look for those. That and the shoestrings are really good for planners. It used to be. But yeah, like the fucking
Breaking news: cheese balls.
The newer movie she just made where she goes back to college. That
Yeah.
was horrible.
Yeah.
Fucking Life of the Party. That was horrible. Fucking the one where she's like this down and out person robbing a convenience store with a bag over her head. That was pretty shit.
Oh, that was another one name one. And then what was the one she did? The Happy Town Murders.
That was good. I liked that movie.
Oh, was it good? Because I heard bad. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I heard a lot of bad things about that movie. So
I don't know where you can go bad with a bunny getting a gun held to its face and then he shits Easter eggs and peas glitter.
But then she has a kind of like serious movie coming out that seems kind of interesting where she plagiarizes something and like runs her whole career off of it.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
I don't want to see that.
I don't want to see it, but it looks like, hey, she's doing something that's not a comedy. That's kind of interesting.
And then for some reason people love the movie Spy, and I've hated that movie.
I didn't think Spy was a good movie, but I thought there were parts that are funny, and Jason Statham's really good in it as just a complete shithead.
I know he's good in it. I like Jason Statham. It's just I didn't really like the first beginning of that movie was kind of funny, and then Jason Statham's part were, but the rest of it was like, yeah, I've seen the same fucking comedy before, just different fucking settings. So I don't know.
My favorite Jason Statham role was when he was in Snatch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good fucking movie.
That was I thought he would do more stuff like that, but he just kind of became an action guy.
Yep. B-movie action guy.
Yeah.
Here's 8 movies you didn't know Jason Statham was in.
There's one where he plays a Texas oil assassin or something. English accents. Like, okay.
Here's 3 Mechanics movies that I didn't even know was a remake.
Well, the first Mechanic movie was pretty good. The second one was god awful. I don't know what the fuck that was about. Like horrible CGI and worse shots than fucking the movie that was 6 years older than that.
And what was the one he was with, like fucking, god damn it, I can't remember his name. Guy from Taxi Driver.
Oh, De Niro?
Yeah, wasn't he like an assassin movie with Robert De Niro?
Yeah,
he's in one
that
with
sounds
Tommy Lee
familiar.
Jones.
I'll have to look it up.
I don't remember De Niro, I guess.
I'll look it up, but you keep on trucking.
God, he's been in a
Well,
lot
I
of
was just
fucking
curious. Because seeing that Glass trailer, I just I wondered how much that movie cost.
Oh, I think they did that relatively inexpensively.
Well, because I know Bruce Willis, like you don't see him much anymore except doing really bad shit.
shit. Demands so much fucking money.
Well, now it seems like he's in the the Nicolas Cage thing, but I don't know, maybe he's just not in demand anymore. But there's a weird thing recently. There was a movie he was gonna be in. I don't know if he was starring in it. It was like a Chinese produced movie called Air Raid that's now just done, and the actress producer disappeared. So it seems to be some sort of weird like tax evasion thing, and then like apparently that fell through, and the government's looking for her. She just disappeared, and the movie's done.
Wow. Weird Chinese thing. Because that was like what was the other weird Chinese thing? Oh, it was the Chinese
I hadn't seen that.
turned to be the head of Interpol, and the head of the guy who was running Interpol for China just disappeared in China.
Huh.
And then he reappeared, and the government charged him with all kinds of crimes, like he was doing really weird shit, supposedly, like embezzlement. And it's like, oh, this was the Chinese guy that was his turn to run Interpol. That's interesting.
Oh yeah, the Meg. Yeah, I guess that's a big movie for Jason Statham recently.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to
What
see
about
that
the
just
giant
because
shark?
people-
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
It looks like kind of like just a popcorn movie, but at the same time, it kind of seemed interesting just because of the cast.
Killer Elite was the one he did with Robert De Niro.
Yeah, and I forgot entirely about that movie, so it must not have been that good.
No, I don't think it was good, but
No, guy, he's been in a million fucking movies at this point. So I mean, between Transporter 1 through 3, fucking Expendables 1 through 3, Crank 1 through 2.
I don't think you say just the Crank movies. There needs to be a Crank 3 where he has to be on fire the entire movie.
Yeah, that would send him off in style. Like, yeah, this makes sense. I can do it.
fucking yeah, between that and the million, like there's 2 mechanic movies and fucking.
And he's in the Fast and Furious franchise now.
Oh yeah, that's right. Fucking forgot about that.
Guys
Smash.
making
He's in a couple Jet Li movies, The One and also War.
Yeah.
And,
I weirdly thought the one was interesting.
Yeah, I like.
I mean, the premise was good. I don't think it was.
Didn't follow through very well. But.
Yeah, it just kind of got dumb, but. I mean, that's kind of like you watch Time Cop. It's like, this is a cool idea, but they pull it off really dumb.
Yeah, they really went stupid with this.
And fuck yeah, besides that, I mean, God, yeah, then Spy, and then a couple other, like, movies that weren't exactly action movies, but he's, yeah,
was it, like, was it Revolver? It's like some British movie?
Yeah, Revolver, and then there's, like, one I tried watching where he's, like, I can't remember what the fuck the background is. Like, he moves to the south and he has a daughter.
Yeah.
And he's either in Witsec or Mercenary or some fucking thing. And somebody terrorizes him and his daughter and he takes revenge on them.
Yeah.
And shit. And I think it's like the other guy's played by like fucking guy that takes every fucking movie handed to him.
Isn't the dude from True
James
Blood?
Franco.
Oh, is it James Franco?
Yeah, James Franco.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I do remember.
And it's like that movie was not any good at all either. And it's like, holy fucking shit! Like,
was that Homefront?
I think it might be. Yeah, it's Homefront. Because I watched that whole thing, like, it's Jason Statham and James Franco. This has to be good. No. And like, I forgot James Franco has a penchant for being in whatever crap people hand him.
Well, I mean,
movies for irony's sake.
Well, this is what I always say about James Franco. He's Hollywood's greatest trier.
I know, but there's this one fucking, like, horror movie that I saw on Netflix. It was like, it's James Franco, and it's about a haunted bank heist. And like, what the fuck is this? So I just watched it to watch it. That was a fucking horrible movie. And it was like, why the fuck are you in this? This makes no sense.
It's for the, he just does it for the experience, pretty much.
Well, I'm sure it was a favor, maybe, too, but at the same time...
Well, because have you ever seen, like... You ever seen his directing credits? He has, like... He's directed, like, fucking, like, 15 movies.
Yeah, I forgot he directed that.
And it's, like, a bunch of stuff where it's, like, what are the novels? It's, like, really... Fuck, what are the novels? He's directing...
Highbrow stuff?
Yeah, well, it's, like... I'll have to look it up. It's,
like Wuthering Heights or something?
I'll look it up. It's, like, stuff that's, like, really... sought after. Well, I guess it's really heady. I'll just fucking find it.
Yeah, just look it up.
Still haven't seen The Last Artist.
Yeah, it's all right. It's not as good as I'd like it to be. It's like not as fun. The Sound and the Fury. That's one of them.
Oh, okay.
Who wrote that? William Faulkner. Yep.
Yeah.
So he directed The Sound and the Fury, and then there's like another Faulkner novel he did. I don't know how he got like access to the Faulkner novels. Oh, As I Lay Dying, is that the other one?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's heady stuff. He probably got access to that because people just want to do like variations on that. They don't actually want to shoot that.
And I think he also has like I'm not sure if it's released anywhere or if it's like YouTube or something. He did like when he was hosting SNL, he has like this mini documentary about like an episode of SNL that like I hear is pretty interesting.
Because like the Grapes of Wrath, like no one really made that movie since it was made in black and white, but they all want to make variations on it.
Yeah.
Like they don't want to actually do like shoot for shoot scenes. Now the weird one is I think of Mice and Men always rotates around with an ensemble cast. Every 10 years we got to have a new Of Mice and Men.
Why is that the most picked up novel by Steinbeck? There's so many better novels than Mice and Men by him. There's East of
It's
Eden.
approachable and it has a story people can relate to. And you can go deep with it or you can go shallow. It's one of those universal stories.
Don't we need a new 12 Angry Men, to modern times?
Yeah, we need to update that one again.
12 Angry Men, but it's like all transgender people.
And it's OJ being tried again for a different murder.
I have a question. It might sound ignorant, but I know the LGBTQA plus IA, I think it is now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's literally like, what the fuck? I know what some of those letters mean. Like, I thought I got caught up on, like, all the, like, okay, lesbian, queer, transgender, bi, asexual. And then it's like, so what the fuck is plus IA now? What the hell is that?
Plus IA.
It was on a commercial recently where it was like, "I'm for the LGBTQ."
Also, Q, does the Q stand for questionable? Like they don't know.
Maybe.
That's also one.
Well, because my wife was talking about it, and she's like, "Queer is different than gay." I'm like, I know the dictionary definition of queer is like unusual or different, but it's like, I don't know. I guess I just don't get it because it's something where it's just like I know. Like,
well, these three white guys are gonna figure it out.
I remember when Work rolled out their first thing in the late 90s, early 2000s, where it was like, I remember when it was LGB. That's all it was.
Yeah.
And there was no T and there was nothing else. And that was like their big, you can't say horrible things to people on the line if they're, lesbians or gays or something. But yeah, there was no transsexual or questioning or anything else like that. Now it's just like
I was ever going to say, "Hey, fag, pass me the headlamp."
Oh, there's people that would.
I know, but it's...
Hey, wait. Are you homosexual? No. Faggot, hand me that thing.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Here's the big one. LGBTQQIAAP. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, transsexual, queer, questioning, intersex, asexual, ally, pansexual.
What the
That's just everything.
My question is, what the hell is intersex?
Yeah, I don't
That's the
know.
only one I know what pansexual means now. It just basically means you'll fuck anything that has a pulse or anything that's put in front of your dick or vagina or whatever you have. But like everything else makes sense because I've heard it before somewhere. But intersex, I've never heard.
Is that in between sexes? Well, no, because that's transgender, right? Well, is that transitioning? Is that like?
Okay, so I guess transsexual and transgenders. What the hell is okay?
Okay. I want to say yeah. I want to say transgendered is like a complete transition, and then transsexual is like female parts, but like still like didn't have the, they still have a penis, essentially.
I can't keep up with what everyone's doing with their genitals, nor do I care. That's like the big thing is like, whatever you want to do, man. I don't need to know about it. I really don't.
No, I know, and that's the big thing. It's like I don't really care what people do in their own private lives as long as it's not like in my face 24/7. But at the same time, it's still.
You know what I care about? Medicare, Social Security, keep doing something about all this drug shit that's like just sprayed all over like a fire hose now. And yeah, whatever you want to do with your dicks, great. But that's not a problem I can solve. But that it seems to be like number one on everyone's list, pro con, is they want to worry about. I mean, some of it.
I don't know what they want to worry about. It's like how we just like start talking about it, and then we talk about it. It's just like we could talk about other things, but this is just a trap we fall into.
Well, because I think it's like something I ordinarily wouldn't care about, but it's getting shoved in your face so much anymore. It's like, well, maybe should I know something about this? Is this important in my life? And then you look into it like, no, actually it's not. I don't even know anyone. I know gay people, but that's about it. I don't know any transsexuals, and I mean, I've never asked either. It's like they could be all around me, but I don't know.
You just got to go to college.
Yeah, but then
I guess it's a college. You're not going to see that in the dying auto plants outside. Right? A lot of chopping shit off and talking about it.
No, but at the same time, I think you going up to somebody like you haven't talked to a lot or haven't met before and just asking them a bunch of different questions about their sexuality is probably the best first step.
Tell me about the status of your sex organ.
Where do you like to have stuff shoved in?
And then put on glasses you never wear. Start taking notes.
Are we doing Hooters into shooters? What's going on here? Which way are we going?
We inserting, putting something else in. What are we doing here?
I mean, I know people like you said. There's people at work that are just obviously lesbians, but they could probably beat the shit out of me, like just militant. But they're fun to talk to because I'm not asking them about what's your lifestyle. Like, I don't need your hair's shorter than mine. I'm pretty sure I know what's going on and how it works, and it doesn't interest me. But then again, there's guys that'll just yell faggot and yell all kinds of racist shit all over the plant and be like, what? It's okay. I can talk like this. It's like, no, no one wants to hear that, dude. So.
Or you can call her by her real name, Susan.
Yeah.
Like, most people prefer. It's not really to the point where I think anybody, like, obviously you're all working there because you have a specific skill set and you know what you're doing. It's not, nobody's, like, putting anybody down. It's like, you know nothing about cars, faggot. Like, yeah. Because you like licking pussy instead of sucking cock, you don't know anything about that model of Ford Focus we're assembling. Like,
yeah,
it just doesn't make any sense.
You know what I want to get out of this workplace today? It's home and pay. That's all I want to happen here. I mean, don't get me wrong. If people wanted to have interesting conversations about things I didn't understand or know anything about, I'd listen to them, like, respectfully. But I don't need to hear. I want to have that conversation once. I don't want to have that conversation every day. And that's where it gets, like, weird because everyone wants, like, oh, you know what Bill's doing with Ted? It's like, I can pretty much guess how it works. And no, it doesn't.
They have excellent adventures.
Yeah.
Tell me about them.
Yeah, if they were like,
it's just gay sex, okay. But it's gay sex in the 1600s. Like, I guess I'll listen.
And it's
if
a
it
phone
involves
booth?
good costumes, it's like, well, okay, there's part of that sounds cool to me.
George Carlin narrates.
Have you ever heard of this podcast called Pod Save America?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they were Barack Obama's media advisors, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because like it's like an HBO show, but then they come up to the midterms.
It was a cool show, but then they just went so far to the left after Trump got elected. I quit listening to it. It's like, okay.
But no, like I know nothing about them except I saw their names listed, and it's like Jon Favreau and Jon Lovett. I'm like, what are Jon Favreau and Jon Lovett's doing? It's like, oh, it's not that Jon Favreau, and it's not Jon Lovett. It's Jon Lovett.
The less famous. No, it was a good show about dissecting politics and reality and like the difference between government programs and what they're supposed to do and what they're really doing and the bullshit that the Republicans were saying. And it was like cool. I remember it as being pretty cool because I listened to it for like a year. And then once the Trump stuff really started to take effect, they just hove so far to the left. I mean, it was like Bill Maher was an awful person in their mind for some of the stuff he said. And it's like, okay, you guys are just moving into some left spectrum where I'm not going to sit down and listen to it anymore. So. But yeah, it's a good podcast, or it was.
And speaking of far left people, is anybody? Because there's been claims from Trump and other people like that far left people are very violent and will use violence to get across their means and their thoughts and on policies. And I'm like, I don't think
Does the unofficial president of the NRA?
And it was like, I didn't think I'd really seen anybody that really embraced. Not saying people can't be violent no matter what beliefs they have, but it's like I haven't seen that.
It gets overstated. I know from talking to the conspiracy theorists at work. I'm using that as a humorous example, not as I believe them, but according to them, like Antifa is everywhere. It's infiltrated every corner of our society, and they need to. Those are the violent leftists. They're fighting against Trump and his good works. They'll tell you this shit straight-faced. And it's like, I don't think, dude, there's not a lot of Antifa going on around here. In Portland and San Francisco and places, there's probably some Antifa. Maybe in Ann Arbor at the university, but I don't think that there's they're cherry-picking examples.
And blowing you down as if it's the
common. Yeah, it's like they burned down the fucking White House or something. Like this is the.
So I think more of like leftist extremists that are violent and like hippies that like put like copper. What they fucking spike trees with a copper, so that when people are cutting it down, the chains fly off and cut off somebody's arm.
Yeah, kick the chainsaw back and buck into their leg. Yeah, that's those are violent hippies. I mean, it's the political. I mean, there are people out there getting violent that are on the left. They're not everywhere. There's a lot of people talking just crazy shit on the internet all the time. Just round them up and kill them type people on both sides. But
yes, to your point, these people don't exist, but they're being broadcast as examples anyways.
Yeah. This isn't like I didn't have to strangle a hippie in my front yard the other day because he was, protesting my heating my house or something. People, again, it's Ted
Your house doesn't want to be heated.
Yeah.
No, it's just something after talking to my dad for like 3 hours today while we're moving stuff to a dumpster back and forth across town and shit. Like, he keeps talking about like all these violent leftist people and pretty much what you're talking about with Antifa people, where it's like Trump's done such a great job for America and we can only hope he gets elected for a second term because all the great policies he's had.
Yeah, we can only hope.
Yeah.
Get that apocalypse going.
Well, I don't know. Something bad's. I'm assuming something bad with the economy is about to happen.
Well, because I keep trying to tell him and his wife about, because they're both on Medicare and they both use that for the prescriptions and stuff like that, and they're both in the what they call the donut hole, which is basically like, hey, Medicare is paid out as much as they're going to pay out until they meet their deductible bullshit for the year, and they're just like, oh, we don't want to have to go to Canada. That seems wrong. It's like, fucking go to goddamn Canada. Who gives a shit? Like, you're not. And then it's like,
I'll just die for my morals.
Well, here's a thought: don't vote for a bunch of shithead Republicans that will keep, so you don't have to go to other countries.
Defund all your government agencies so you can get a tax cut.
Yeah, there's a few ways around this other than having to go support those, Canada, which is such an awful place,
Well, it's just something where I'm like, there's candidates that are running for local government and state and national government to support increasing Medicare and support lowering healthcare costs for senior citizens.
Right.
You should really look into that and support those people and learn what you can. And it's like, oh no, we wouldn't do that. They're a bunch of friggin' communists and stuff like that, and they're
how are we going to lower healthcare costs and not increase healthcare profits?
Well, it's just more of him like, yes, everybody should have the same healthcare, no matter if you're a senator or a gardener or whatever. But at the same time, you know what the real problem is all these goddamn illegals in the fucking country stealing all our money. I'm like, okay, there's probably a few. There's not that fucking many. Just the same thing with somebody giving me shit at work.
They don't steal your money. They just sell you drugs.
Well, it's between the people living off welfare and running crack dens, and also the people that immigrated.
Man, I can't walk outside without tripping over a fucking crack den.
But also fucking immigrants that moved to this country legally and didn't pay in tax-wise, but then they're collecting millions of dollars from us in retirement benefits. I'm like, how many people literally did that? Like, not 1,000, 2,000 people out of the millions of people in this country?
What about all the foreign students at college that don't get student loans and are somehow paying for college? That's money from nowhere.
Well, it's just he keeps picking out all this stuff, and I'm like, okay, so what about everybody robbing from Social Security to pay for fucking highways and military spending they shouldn't have done? And what about the Republicans cutting taxes so they can blame the Social Security and Medicare for robbing the United States of money that didn't rob? It's like, what about all this shit? What about increased military spending for wars we're not even conducting? Like, why do we need to do all this shit?
And what's the answer?
No, it's just more or less like, oh, you're just deflecting. It's like, if the real problem is
that's not the real problem, it's the foreigners.
No, the real problem is foreigners, but also
like me.
The real problem is that people that want socialism are just lying. It doesn't work. It just makes countries morally and financially bankrupt.
Your medical problems should put you in a financial hole that should make you ashamed for yourself for the rest of your life. Welcome to America.
Because I was trying to explain, because he claims Sweden's a hellhole, and I'm like,
they're just coming over here by the boatloads.
But I'm like,
I mean, sure, plenty of people kill themselves there, but they're happy to do so.
Yeah, glad. for the opportunity.
Because he keeps pointing out all these countries that have socialism and like pay, basic living wage for not working, or universal health care and reform prison systems, education systems, and it's like, yes, nothing's perfect, but I'm like, capitalism has gotten us here, so what do you expect? And it's like, you gotta choose between capitalism and making rich richer, or you can have everybody have the same for everything. So which one do you want? And you pick capitalism.
Well, you see, Andrew, you've run into the same problem I have for the last 10 years, which is why I don't fucking talk to anyone anymore, is I can't, in a 30-minute conversation, compete with 700 hours a year of Fox News. Yeah. There's no way I can deprogram that. And anything I say, there's some glib answer about why I'm wrong, which is like total horseshit. But see, the thing with horseshit is if the person believes it, and they've been indoctrinated to believe that, well, you're fucked. The argument is over, because you're not talking. You might as well start talking. One of you speak English and one of you speak German, because that's the level of that's the amount of information that's going to be exchanged, if you're not speaking the same language. And that's what's got this country into the mess it's in today. Is everyone's in a, what do they call that? To their own like hug box of information and self-reinforcing. Yeah. It's easy to laugh at the right because that shit's like blatantly stupid, but the left has a version of that too.
Yeah.
Where, because the right,
it's like you stop watching that. You stop listening to Pod Save America because it's getting to that territory.
Yeah, it's
where it's like some self-serving thing that seems fanciful. Like,
yeah,
we want to create this fiction and make it a reality.
Yeah, it's like, hey, we all want to live in fucking Star Trek, but we're not there yet. We don't have unlimited energy and lack of greed. When we do, maybe we can live in Star Trek, but we really have to solve the problems we have now, and no one wants to talk about it. Neither side. I don't.
I know.
And there was something.
I've become very politically agnostic.
I can't remember the name of the. There was something I saw on Reddit the other day where it was like something came up, like it's called the equity of bullshit or something like that.
Okay.
Where it's like the amount of evidence you have to provide to disprove bullshit is astronomically greater than just the bullshit itself.
Yeah, I've heard like the bullshit like paradox, where it's the only free energy exchange in the universe. Because for 1 ounce of bullshit, you have to produce like 10 tons of fact, and you'll still lose. Because facts are boring and bullshit's exciting. That's why everyone's sucked into all these conspiracy theories, because it's exciting. It's like, my life has meaning. I have secret information, and these sheep don't want to believe it. So then I can hate them and call them names, and because I'm part of I'm with the inner circle of I know the truth about this. That's why guys like Alex Jones are worth $20 million. It's if you just look at it, if you just watch that for 5 minutes and had no idea about him or anything he propagates or what he says and does, you just laugh your ass off. You're like, oh, this is fucking stupid. But when you get like 400 hours in, it's like, oh, you're in. It's like, this guy speaks to me, and I suddenly, all these people I kind of hated anyway, now I have a reason to hate them because they're part of the satanic baby eating child molestation conspiracy thing, whatever. So it's like all my hatred and rage and racism now it makes sense, because I'm really not a bad person. I'm just on the side of truth and justice. Yeah, whatever it takes.
Yeah, but anybody in their head says, I'm not a bad person because, no, you're a bad person.
Yeah.
Yes, everybody, convinces themselves at some point in their life they're not a bad person.
Everyone's the hero of their own story.
Well, I know, but at the same time, it's just fucking... the way he talks about conspiracy theories, it's almost like if I just go around... I don't know how many months ago that I talked about my made-up conspiracy theory of we're all robots. and fucking like, oh, there's no real babies after our generation. It's all just robots and batteries. It's like, I figure if I just go around saying that to everybody in the fucking room every time I go anywhere, eventually somebody will believe me, and that'll be the next Antifa. It'll be...
You will, if you say that to enough people, 99% of the people think you're full of shit, but you'll get that one guy.
I mean, the people that believe
one guy who doesn't talk to anyone anyway.
The people that believe lizard people have taken over the government, like you're gonna bring people from there. You're gonna siphon off from that group.
Yeah.
I want to be the next Jade Helm. God damn it. I want to be the next Barack Obama Hussein, born in what countries was he born in?
Kenyan Muslim super agent, American whatever, and he's also homosexual too. Because why not? Yeah.
At this point, like, isn't like they're almost like any book, like any landmark president was a homosexual at this point. Abraham Lincoln was George Washington.
Yeah, people always like to throw that around. It's like, and what did that have to do with
because if you're on the right and you say they're homosexual, it's like, oh, I guess that's a bad thing. But if you're on the left, it's like, good for him.
He's even more qualified. Great.
Yeah, Franklin Delano Roosevelt fucks his cousin for a long time, and nobody really says anything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the sexual peccadillos of the rich and powerful are just horrible to behold. I mean, just watch Eyes Wide Shut. That's what the fuck's going on most of the time anyway. And if I had a bunch of money, I'd be doing it too. So,
I saw the last 2 seasons of Bates Motel.
Oh, okay.
It does get better.
Does it?
Yeah, the last season was its best season, which is very weird because most shows cannot pull that off.
Yeah, they're on life support by then. It's just like, how many twists can we throw in?
Yeah, like the really interesting thing about the last season is that the first 3 seasons, they're kind of like holding off on just going full on crazy.
Yeah.
And so like they get into a lot of these gang weed stories and stuff that's not as interesting, and they don't really focus on Norman and his mom.
Gang weed, was it become Breaking Bad at some point?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's.
And so
go with the formula that works.
And so yeah, they kind of get rid of all that by season 4, and then season 5, they basically just like, all right, we're doing it. We're just gonna go full on fucking crazy, and they just fucking do it. It's a really great season.
Yep. And all right, boys, balls deep.
And they recreate Psycho in that season, but like they do twists on it, so it's not exactly the same.
Oh well, as long as it's well done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just weird because I know, like, when I watched that Red Letter Media thing, it's like he said no, the last 2 seasons are really good, but it's like, am I gonna watch 5 seasons where the first 3 seasons aren't that great? It's like it's kind of odd, but I did, so whatever.
Yeah, no pain, no gain. It's like, yeah, the first 3 are going to be punishingly bad, but stick with it.
Well, the first 3 are all right. They do some things interesting that kind of, so they like the first. I'll spoil it. It's in the first episode. His mom gets raped, and then he knocks a guy out, and then she just fucking murders him with a knife. Well, I mean, she's in her rights too. She was raped.
Yeah, it's understandable.
And they decide, like, they can't, like, no, I just murdered him. We have to hide the body.
Yeah.
So that's where you can see this whole idea of, like, you have Norman, and then you have, like, Mother is like kind of like his killer alter ego. Yeah. And you can see, like, where that was kind of created because, like, because he already has this thing where he, like, blacks out and has, dissociative identity disorder. But here it's starting to form an identity where it's like, oh, my mom kills bad people, like, in this other part of me is Mother, so she kills bad people. But then it comes like, well, she just kills people.
So much like a conspiracy theorist, you are the hero of your own story.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing this awful stuff for the right reason.
Yeah, I was also trying to think of, shows where, like, the best season was the last season. And I don't know, Breaking Bad's pretty close. I'm not sure if I say that was its best season, but it's a really good season. But they're all pretty much really good seasons.
Yeah, they were all quality.
But even, like, The Wire, which I think is like one of the greatest shows ever made, its last season is like really bad.
The Wire is one of the greatest shows ever written. Yeah, sometimes I diverge from that opinion, like it's the best show ever. It's one of the best written shows, yeah, but sometimes they don't carry it off. Like, the story's awesome, has potential, but sometimes it doesn't follow through.
I don't know. I've never watched. I don't think except for BoJack Horseman. I don't think I've watched a show. I watched seasons multiple times, like I did with The Wire, and I just like every time through you pick up something new. It's like, this like is the start of this has like hooks into like season 4 from season 1. It's like that's either they just remember that when they're writing season 4, or there's just like accidental genius. I don't know. It's like really great.
It's a fucking storyboard with yarn. A lot of post-it notes and yarn when you get to that. Yeah, The Wire was, like I said, that's what was great about. That was one of what you're talking about is what was amazing about The Wire. It's like not only did things intersect like that you had to remember over years, but they also made sense why they were. It wasn't a hook. It was just like almost slipped in on you, like, oh, wait a minute, I got to go back and watch because I have The Wire, like I own it. And I love that show, and it also depresses me sometimes, and I don't watch it multiple times because it's like this is the future. This is like they're predicting things. There's things that happen in The Wire that's like, oh, that's fucked for Baltimore. And then this is happening all over the country now. It was bad for Baltimore, but now it's in like Des Moines. It's like, oh shit, when did this happen? It's like this was something we were supposed to watch from the sidelines and just look at in horror, and now it's in our backyard.
But also I'm weird because I'm a fan of season 2, which most people like think that's the worst season, but no, the last season's the worst season. But what I really like about season 2 is in season 2, that's when their investigation group gets money and they can actually like legitimately investigate like high-end crime.
Yeah.
And then that all gets disbanded. So.
That's the thing about that is like that show is based in reality. Like that shit really happens. And the stuff with the media in that show is like it's perfect even to this day. It's like, yes, that's exactly what's going on.
Oh, I mean, he was a part of the media, so
yeah. Oh yeah, you guys know what they're about. But we don't need to do a podcast where we sing the praises of The Wire. There's actually entire Wire podcasts.
Oh yeah.
I mean, multiple ones and equally as good. I've listened to a bunch of them.
Yeah, there's Wire podcast, Lost podcast.
You know, a show that amazes me, though, now that we're just taking a stroll down memory lane in our 300th episode. Of American Factory Violence. This is a landmark episode for us. 47 downloads, baby. No, it's more than that, but I think a lot of it's just the Chinese doing
it. Yeah, just Chinese and Russians.
Yeah, Chinese and Russians.
What are these Americans doing?
Who is this boring for so long? This is like the long-form Communist Manifesto by Marx being read aloud by Unity. Who does this?
Why even try now? Just kill yourself.
Yeah, because it means we have at least over 600 hours of content.
Yeah, at least. Quality A1 content. A lot of stuff like me going like this. Huh? Go ahead. What? Those are the quirks of our show.
We haven't had... Was it Rape Goblins or Rape Zombies? We used to say that when we had...
Rape Goblins. Because we got that from Patton Oswalt.
Yeah.
Because if there was ever a moment of... Because it used to be we didn't have this perfect flow of conversation. So we'd be talking about something, and then we'd both like finish our point and be like, "Oh, okay." No, and then it became Rape Goblins.
Somebody just shouts out, "Ah!" And then it's like, "Oh, Rape Goblins are me if I don't say anything."
I mean, one thing I missed from the early episodes of what's Weirdos and Warriors, which was ours before we merged the shows, because it's like we couldn't even produce one good or two good shows. Why would we produce? Try to produce more, but was the amount of hardcore alcoholism that was going on, but not primarily by me, but by other guests I had on. The people thought that's like, yeah, I want to do your podcast, but it's like, no, I just want to make your recording room into a tavern where I'm so intoxicated I don't even. I mean, I miss those days of like I can hear someone hurling in my front yard. It's like, think it was a good idea to drink half a bottle of whiskey in 2 hours?
You can hear someone
I remember
sleeping.
How long they used to be too.
I miss thinking I hit the record button and we really were just talking for 3 hours in our room drinking speaking.
Well, because there's like a record limit with GarageBand where we had to like do an hour stop and then do another an hour because otherwise it would just fail completely.
Yeah.
And so it was like 4-hour podcast nights.
Yeah, we've had some marathon. Now we rarely go over 2 hours, but we did like 4 hours before. And sometimes I listen to them, and there's a weird like default line. There's like a 2-hour limit line. Is what I call it. It's like, okay, the excitement and the new stuff we were going to talk about, we've gone through that, and then we're going to just start revisiting shit.
Yeah.
Or pitching scripts, or just whatever we would come up with. But yeah, it's amazing because I have all the episodes of this show somewhere, and sometimes I'm like, oh, what did this used to sound like? Oh, it was pretty bad. It's really bad actually. But we didn't know what.
No, it was all right.
It was okay.
It's not like you can't listen to an entire show. Not every one of them. There's some of them. It's like I listened to that whole show.
Yeah, I mean, some of them were fun to record, but podcasting has changed a lot since because we've been at this since what 2009. 2009.
Yeah, we started before Mark Maron.
Right. Yeah. And I remember we used to play like all kinds of illegal music, but everyone was doing that. Like no one was.
Well, we still can. It just won't be. Now YouTube is like you've been flagged and you can't be played in European countries.
Yeah, well,
we don't really care about that. So like our European audience can't listen to us now.
Yeah, our Swedish people that are learning English, they're going to be disappointed this week. We appreciate your neutral accents and simple analogies.
I'm sorry, Olaf, you can't learn English this week.
Oh,
but yeah, that was. Some of it was good, some of it was bad. But yeah, it was like I said, it was the Wild West. I mean, there were some big podcasts that used to play like all kinds of music all the time. No one does that anymore.
Yeah.
I think the lawyers caught up with them.
Well, no, yeah, the automated stuff. Well, now everybody, you can't. It used to just be audio only, but now it's everything.
Yeah, we have this video component. And you don't need to.
And we just do the video component really for practice, because otherwise I would like figure out how to do the switching thing on my own.
Yeah.
Because that was really nice back when we had the Google Hangouts on air and auto switch between things. But now to do that or I could put us both on the screen at the same time, but then you can't see me.
Yeah.
So it becomes really fucking weird.
Yeah, I'm just looking at myself, or yeah, it's whatever. It is what it is.
And I don't know.
What were we talking about?
Yeah, how long have you been? Have you been doing this for like 4 years or 3 years? Been with us regularly?
3 or 4 at this point. I mean, obviously not every week as dedicated as you guys have been, because I'm definitely more like an every other week type of person on this show. But I mean, Matt started before I did, but then I picked up his slack when he, kind of faded away because of family and other stuff. So I mean.
Well, yeah, because it used to be like American Greed Factory would happen when like Matt was able to hang out, and then Weirdos and Warriors was more regular, and then it just became the same show.
Because I know, I mean, Nathan, you've had your share of guests as well, but none that have really, had more than like a handful at a time. You don't have like a regular guest or anything, but.
Oh, I mean, Phil was for 2 years, 3 years.
I mean, one of the problems I have is most of my friends here are just alcoholics, and my house isn't like a dive where it's like, yeah, come over, record the show and sleep on my couch. No, we're not doing that shit.
Yeah, you gotta drive home when you're done with the podcast.
Yeah, it's like this is I'm not gonna be this is gonna be the evidence that's presented in court. It's like, see how much he let him drink before he went home and killed a busload of nuns. We have video and audio recording of their alcoholism and how irresponsible.
Yeah, true. Now that everybody basically has a camera everywhere, it doesn't help that you record your own evidence half the time. Especially when everybody's like, look at me, I'm doing something normal there people wouldn't have cared about 5 years ago, but now I gotta take a selfie.
That's just things.
I know, but it's like, if I see
That's
more
for those young whippersnappers doing that. It's like, I'm the first one to discover
I don't even think kids are doing that. I think it's just like fucking kids who become adults and are like, oh, is this the real world? Oh no, I have no friends. Social media to the help, to my savior. Because kids have friends because they're forced into social situations called school.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't have any friends from work, and that's the only place I would make friends. And I don't want to, like, I've been working there for 15 years. Nobody knows I do a podcast.
You think they'd be interested in this? It's like, yeah, I follow you, Conlon. Oh, you mean on the show? No, home. Home every night.
Okay, good. So when do you want to die?
I used to tell people at work about the show, but I don't now at the place I've been at the last 3 years, because there's so many people. Like, I would just get shouted at as soon as I walked in if they watched, because of the political shit.
Yeah.
And like I said, we don't do a political show anymore. We used to talk about it more when Trump was a phenomenon. I understand that that's alienating. I try not to do it a whole lot. But yeah, I do have opinions about things, but I don't want to be like, have someone throwing haymakers at me in the parking lot because I assaulted their cherished beliefs and their identity. So yeah, I don't tell anyone at work we have a podcast because I don't want to hear a bunch of right-wing bullshit when I come in. Or someone try to undermine me or sabotage me in some other way at work because like, yeah, fuck him. Fucking liberal.
Well, I know, but at the same time, every time I've talked to anybody, whether it be in my work or family members or certain people out at places I hang out about right-wing politics and stuff like that, it usually comes up where I just ask them, is like, hey, do you just want, good affordable medical coverage, everybody gets decent taxes, well-funded schools, and good wages where you don't have to kill yourself to make it by? Oh yeah, that'd be lovely. And then it's just like, oh, those are all leftist things. That's fucking communist.
Yeah, I mean,
everybody agrees on those topics, but since you get it by voting for socialism, it's a horrible degenerative thing you should never have thought of. It's just surprising. It's like, yeah, all they hear is you saying that their golden Cheeto man god in the blue suit isn't everything he's cracked up to be.
I'm gonna vote for people to go into Congress, and my taxes are gonna pay for them to intentionally dismantle the government.
That's what the founding fathers wanted. Well, see, that's the thing. Like, we don't even talk about like I mean, only as a form of like political polemics do people talk about the founding fathers or first principles of this country anymore. It's like they don't even care about that. It's just fun to attack people. That's all it is. It's just blood sport. It's like, I don't care if I die as long as you die first. This is perfect.
I don't care if I die as long as your life is miserable too.
I know, but it's true though, because it's basically like this country is basically founded from taxation without representation over fucking something as little as just extra money out of your pocket for tea, because nobody said yes or no to it, and now nobody knows who the fuck our vice president is, or the speaker of the house, or fucking what laws are actually being passed and what they pertain to. Is like, it's just as long as somebody gets up on TV every once in a while and says how great things are going and nobody questions it, they just fucking like, yep, it's okay. Nobody's pointing a gun at my head and telling me to fucking get down and suck his dick. So it must be going okay.
Yeah, it's going great as long as that's never going to happen. But
we want to outlaw those guns that they're pointing at your head to make me suck your dick.
You should have that choice to suck that man's dick. You shouldn't be made to do it, sir. That's just wrong.
You should choose to suck the dick. I mean, if you don't, there's going to be consequences.
Everybody knows enthusiastic blowjobs are welcomed. Not the crying, oh God, I don't want to do this blowjobs. Nobody likes those.
Well, some people like that.
The problem with that whole analogy, though, is like, if you're going to hold a gun to my head and put your penis
what do you expect?
The tables are going to turn very quickly, because even the human jaw can generate 1,100 pounds. So no matter how quickly I die, you're gonna be dickless. Some people, that's like.
Well, that's what he's got a whole clip for. He just kill himself right afterwards.
Yeah, like, so we're really accomplishing something. We could have just shot each other.
Some sort of weird gay suicide homicide pact.
I just want to see the guy that like does that and gets his dick bit off and shoots the guy in the head, and he's like, "Well, I got 12 more bullets," so then he just goes up to another random person, suck that man's dick. I just want to see
the one in his mouth or the one in his pants.
Which dick am I sucking? I'm so confused at this point. What does the Bible say about this?
I just want to see this to completion really before I die. That's all I want. I want one person to actually suck somebody's dick to completion with a gun to their head, not think about biting it off. That's all I wanted. That's my plan.
This is the weirdest remake of The Happening.
Yeah, this is going in a strange direction. It's
subverting this is the better remake of The Happening. There's nobody talking to a fake houseplant in the corner living in soft tones. It's okay. We're just here to use the bathroom and get water. Like, it's okay. Just suck his dick till it comes. It's just stroke the balls, work the shaft. Everybody knows. Maybe put a finger up the anus. Surprise him a little. I mean, maybe not surprise him too much. He'll pull the trigger. But surprise him a little.
Oh no! I shot my dick off. I shot him in the head.
Sorry.
Yeah, you've got to
put that fucking image in your head.
There has to be some anus stimulation / trigger protocol. Is a finger in the ass with a loaded gun to your head? You know what's yay or nay? How deep? Knuckles are important. Trim your fingernails. You don't
maybe
want
wet it a little first to ease it in. That way it's not as rough on the person. You know, just think about the other person first.
Like I said, I want this. That's what we're going to call it. Government pamphlet anus trigger protocol. Just going to have a picture of a finger in 1911 and an asshole. And that's going to be the front of the pamphlet.
Oh, did you guys see there's like
we'll call it FAP. Finger anus protocol.
Are you fapping in there? No, I'm not fapping in here. And for the government seal for it, just have like a star anus, like the community thing.
Just have like the pyramid, but instead of the eye on it, just have a big asshole.
No, just an eagle holding a 1911.
Yeah.
With its,
and a finger.
And a finger, and its asshole's just showing. It's the reverse side of the eagle.
F-A-P.
Well, speaking of stupid things to do with guns, I don't know if this is a new thing or something that just recirculated again because it was dumb and popular. There's like a black and white security video of like a gun range, and there's two guys holding a gun and they're just giving it, and the guy kind of takes a selfie with the gun kind of like this across him, like an action pose. And then he has his phone up still, and he takes the loaded gun and puts it to his friend's head and tries to take a selfie, and then the gun instructor comes over and just like takes the gun away and like, what the fuck were you doing?
Oh, he fucking tackles the guy against the table and puts
the
gun
down.
It's
like,
get the fuck out of here.
Who thinks that's a fun idea? Oh, we loaded gun at a friend time.
Like, ha, 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 ha,
people who...
This is gonna kill at my next convention. Like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, granted, there's plenty of dumb shits out there that own guns that do stupid shit like that all the time. But at the same time...
Oh, I remember when I was on the gun range, I witnessed some people getting essentially tackled. They were foreigners, and they were behind me. They were from Korea, I think, or someplace like that, and gun jammed on range. And so they're just like behind us, like cycling this gun and like with their finger fully down on the trigger, and we just sort of stepped out of the way like, what the fuck, trying to shoot me in the back. And they came in there and hustled them out. And I remember we got to shoot for free that day because as soon as I saw the guy like pulling the trigger and cycling the gun right behind me, I was like, whoa, what the fuck's going on? I don't know where you think this is gonna work. But yeah, gun ranges are great places for shit like that. I mean, there's people that are like just over the top safety. like, don't even look at me in the eyes if you have a loaded gun. Whoa, dude, calm the fuck down. And then there's people that are like, hey, this gun is jammed, and they're pointing it at their head.
It won't work.
Well, supposedly that one. Remember the gun range we took you to last time while you were here?
Yeah.
Like, supposedly that's become so unsafe now because all the idiots that go there that you basically shouldn't go to it anymore if you don't want an idiot. Basically.
Well, I observed no range safety when I was there. I mean, I was doing like gun tricks and shooting from the hip.
Well, I know, but you weren't pointing the gun at people, and you weren't like trying to like fucking, I don't know, shoot with your mouth or some fucking weird shit.
No, I wasn't. Yeah, pull the trigger with your mouth.
Like,
You never
All
know how
right,
to practice
you
this.
don't have either hand available. Shoot the gun with your mouth.
like I'm just saying, you weren't doing the stupid shit that apparently people are doing now. Where my dad was commenting the last time he went out there, like 6 months ago, he felt like he needed to carry a firearm to deter the people that were firing firearms at the same
People
time.
on the range. He was threatening me with a gun. On purpose? No, just through negligence.
Ah, fuck, now you gotta open carry to the range?
There are people that think they're toys. I mean,
Yeah.
it's people that just like, oh, isn't this fun? It's like, all that thing does is kill shit. Don't wave it around. Oh, look, I'm in a movie. It's yeah, in the movies, people don't die unless they fuck up. And who was it? Bruce Lee's son that killed himself.
Brandon Lee.
Well, no, he didn't kill himself. He got shot with a prop gun.
Oh, yeah, or something.
I mean, I can explain the whole thing if you want to know.
I think we've heard it.
Yeah.
We've talked about it.
But no, I mean, people died from blanks and shit before. It's not a I mean, all it takes is anything is because there was like one trick. There was like this magician that's supposed to catch a fake bullet from a prop gun, and there was like a piece of because he'd like tapped the wand on it at first, but the piece of wand fell in, and then the piece of wand got ejected into his fucking throat and killed him. Instead, Lodi is supposed to catch the fucking bullet. So I mean, anything can be a projectile and kill somebody.
I think I remember Penn and Teller doing an interview once about why they don't do gun shit anymore because of shit like that. Because it's just too many things can go wrong, even with mirrors and shit. I don't know. They had some explanation about it.
Well, I mean, Conlon was showing me the one of the special effects, like behind the scenes thing in the movie you guys watched this week. Where it's like a guy with a fucking shotgun behind the exploding head, firing it at the right time to get it to go off. I'm like, that fucking shit wouldn't happen anymore. Like,
yeah, because they're like, all right, everybody get in your truck, close your windows, and duck. We're going to fire this shotgun into a puppet.
Into the dummy head, yeah.
Well, I told him it was just filled with rock salt, but...
Oh, yeah, but, I mean, yeah. I don't know if I necessarily believe that, I guess, but maybe.
Well, yeah, because, like, the way the other two people talked about it was, like, it's like, yeah, it wasn't working, so a guy just like, fuck it, I'm getting a shotgun, and then another guy was like, yeah, we prepped around with salt in it, and like didn't necessarily see like so one guy was talking about it was just a random event, like just somebody just happened to have a shotgun, we're gonna make this work, and then the other guy's like, we carefully planned this. It's like, which one was it? I have a feeling
the guy with the shotgun was like, if we don't get this take, I'm just gonna fucking kill everybody here.
I'm just gonna do this on screen, man. That's my last thing.
Hey, Jeff's on set again. He's got a shotgun. Well, okay.
Just give him a donut, make him calm down, and it'll be fine.
Does he want to kill everybody or just himself? Do you want to kill yourself, Jeff? No. Fuck.
I was about ready to say, action. Camera around.
I mean, he can't sue us if he's dead, right? Let's go.
Jeff, do you have family?
Did you sign the waiver? Movie sets are dangerous, especially if guys are walking around with loaded shotguns. A little too eager to get the special effects. So, well, let's jump right into it. Watched a movie this week.
Yeah.
1981? Canadian masterpiece. Scanners. Another David Cronenberg joint.
Yeah, I've never seen Scanners before, but like as a kid, I heard about this movie like a bunch.
Right.
And I know why, and it's just for one scene. It's when that dude's head blows up.
Right, yeah, that's what it's known for.
Because I was expecting, it's like, oh, this is like an early Cronenberg genre movie. This is going to be pretty straightforward. Like, nope.
Nope. It's actually going to have a pretty elaborate plot.
Well, I wouldn't say elaborate, but
well, long.
Well, the thing of like I learned about the production and how like so it was like some Canadian tax credit, but like they're waiting for like the law to pass to see how much money they could get for the movie.
Okay.
And as soon as that law passed, they had to hurry in production to basically maximize the budget of the movie.
Oh, okay.
Because there's like only so much pool of the money to go around. So like the script wasn't finished, so he's writing the script as they were shooting the movie. Which is why things don't fit together in this movie.
I sort of wondered. I didn't know if that was some aesthetic or if it was some kind of production problem.
Well, because you watch other Cronenberg movies like Existence, but that makes more sense there because that's like, presumably a computer simulation, the dream world where anything can happen. So things don't have to connect together that well. But that's not the case here.
No. No, this movie... I was surprised at who was in this because I'd never seen this movie before. Never had any interest in seeing it.
I don't
know why.
I only know two people, but you go first.
Well, I was Michael Ironside.
Okay, I'm gonna preface something. I'm probably gonna say Jeremy Irons instead of Michael Ironside like 100 times during the podcast.
Okay, that's
just so you know.
But and then Patrick McGoohan was the doctor in this.
Is that the guy from The Prisoner?
Yeah, the guy from The Prisoner. I was like, oh, it's Patrick McGoohan. That was kind of cool. Those are the only two people.
Well, I kept thinking like, is the main guy was like the dude from 2001: A Space Odyssey, but
Stephen Lack.
Yeah,
no. He was actually, he had a weird story because he was like an artist.
Oh, was he?
He wasn't an actor. Like he was like some kind of performance artist.
Huh.
So.
Was his art in the movie for that weird art guy?
That's a good question, but I didn't follow up.
I didn't watch all the documentaries. I just watched the special effects one. So
yeah, I was kind of compacted this week, so I didn't have a chance to.
Hey, at least you guys actually watched the movie. I didn't get a chance to watch any of it.
So. I just showed him the scene where the guy's head blows up because that's pretty much all anybody remembers from this movie.
Yeah, it's
because that head blowing up scene. Like, so I've seen it a lot of times before. I think I know it's from that movie because as soon as that scene started happening, it's like I've seen this before.
I know what's gonna happen to this guy's head.
But like they used on like early like 90s SNL, like I think during Weekend Update, like they'd use that scene like over and over again. I was like, oh wow, they could show this on television.
It's okay. It's after 11. So.
And it was like, yeah, and it was like it was something. It was like, and now we cut to President Bush's reaction to whatever, and then like boom, like that's how they used it on SNL.
Yeah, but this is a classic Cronenberg movie. A lot of like gross out horror, like uncomfortable.
Well, yeah, because that's his thing. The body horror. That's
body horror, is that what they call it?
Yeah,
okay, yeah, just like uncomfortable things happening to people. I like how Michael Ironside's character has a scar from where he tried to drill a hole between his eyes to let the voices out.
Yep.
Yeah, that's like because as soon as I saw him in the film after they captured him when he blew that guy's head up. It's like, why does he have a bullet wound in between his eyes? And then you go back and you watch the stuff.
Well, there's like they show him a video of him in like an insane asylum or something.
Yeah, and he's got the eye patch thing over his hole and
with a happy face on it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's kind of a weird. This is definitely a movie of its time. That's for sure.
Yeah, I don't think this movie aged very well.
No.
And mostly because it's like, so it has decent special effects. Where it's like kind of the last scene and the head blowing up scenes and a few other things. But for the most part, this movie is a movie. When you see those behind the scene things where like somebody's acting on a green screen and they're just kind of yelling, but nothing's there.
Yeah.
That's like, this entire movie where it's like, we didn't add the special effects in yet. So it's like people like making weird faces and like pretending that things are happening when they're not. It's like all the shit's happening in the mind, so they just turn up the soundtrack, like make an eerie soundtrack thing, like make people's voices talk backwards now. It's like,
yeah.
But then there's no special effects.
And I thought it was weird that like Edwards J. Olmos had like a fucking cameo.
Was that him? I thought that was just
it was Edward James Olmos.
Okay, because for me it was like, is that Edward James Olmos? It's like, nah, it can't be. He's too white.
No, that was him.
Okay.
And I thought the head security guy, when the guy blew the dude's head up at the CONSEC meeting, I thought it's like, is that Bryan Cranston? It wasn't, because these were all like Canadian actors and Edward James Olmos. But yeah, there was some people in here that like, that can't be that guy. No, it isn't. I mean, Edward J. Olmos, it was literally a cameo. Like it was,
one scene.
Yeah, that's him.
Is he the guy in the other car? Is he the guy in the other car that blows up?
No, because him and the guy stop because the other car blows up.
Okay.
And then they stop, and then the guy comes out and shoots them both. Like,
okay.
It was just weird. It's like, that is Edward James Olmos, but it's also 1981. So.
Yeah, I guess maybe we should explain There's basically people can read people's minds, and they're called scanners.
Yes.
And
they also have psychokinetic powers. Where they can people into flames and explode their heads and something.
Yeah, I really like the names of companies in here.
Yeah, it's got some interesting names. CONSEC.
And then was it Biocorp Amalgamate?
Yeah. Yeah, and there's different. Yeah, that's the big one. Well, CONSEC's the big one, and then Biocorp Amalgamate is like its medical division.
Yeah.
And then, but there's something called like biocarbon something too, and it's like I think, and that one sound like they just threw names together. It's like, what? It's artificial biological carbon. What does that mean?
But yeah, there's the ways people come about to where they can like hear other people's thoughts is like people were given this, or pregnant women were given this drug to like make them feel better or something like that, and this was like the result of it. And so most of the people who are scanners are like degenerates, low life, and mental patients because they've been hearing voices their entire life, and people just think they're schizophrenic. They've been actually hearing other people's voices. But when you give them a drug and they're kind of like can control that, then they can basically, when their mind's kind of free of other people's voices, then they can just like, telekinetically throw things or set things on fire or whatever.
Or burst people's heads.
Yeah, blow people's heads up.
And the drug's called ephemeral.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
It's a weird name. And this movie was obviously, to me, shot in Montreal.
Yeah.
Mostly at night, but it's like, yeah, that's Montreal. No other place looks like Montreal. Because it's kind of looks like Toronto, but with some French flavor to it. I think part of this was shot in Toronto. The big building scenes were buildings in Toronto.
Oh, okay.
Because they have a lot of weird square buildings there that the government built, and everyone just buys them and repurposes them. But yeah, you can tell when a movie was shot in Canada in the late 70s and early 80s because they look different. Now they're just, Toronto fills in for New York all the time because they can just edit that shit in. But yeah, this movie definitely was a product of its time. Because it has that weird storytelling too, where it's like we're going to go from one scene to another. There's going to be incredible violence, almost no explanation of who or what, and then we're going to jump to the next scene. People are going to be talking and looking in each other's eyes earnestly. It's like, what do you think's happening? Why did this happen? It's like, I don't know, bitch. 7 people were just murdered in front of us brutally, and it's like, do you think we should have sex? No, I don't think so.
I thought that was weird. Like, that top billing person in this movie isn't in it till like 36 minutes into the movie.
Yeah,
and she doesn't do a whole lot.
No, she was just a big star at that time.
Oh, okay, it was okay.
Yeah, I mean, she was a model.
Oh, okay.
And it was just a way to get people into the.
Well, she worked with Cronenberg because I know there's like that movie called like The Breed, but I didn't know if she was in that movie because there's a lady that's on the Filmstruck site. There's like a lady's face that's like the thumbnail for that movie, so I didn't know if that was her or not.
I don't know. I don't. The only thing I know about her is she was married like 9 times.
Oh, okay.
That's about the only thing I know. And she shot herself.
Oh, okay.
That's the only thing I could find. She didn't die. She did it
Oh,
accidentally.
okay.
But it's like, oh, okay, that's weird. Because I mean, the only actor in this that has significant bios is Michael Ironside and Paul McGowan. Like half these other people were like Canadian players and different TV shows and stuff. And
Michael Ironside really wasn't supposed to have a big part in this movie, and then he kind of like steals the movie.
Yeah.
And it's a young Mike Ironside with hair. Well, I'm not sure how young he is, but he has hair.
35.
Okay. Well, that's how old his character is. I didn't know how old he was actually during that time. But
yeah, because he's like 70 now, so he'd be age then. He's been the static villain in American films for. I mean, he played that for 20 years or more.
Yeah. The voice of Sam Fisher.
Yep. I don't even know, but he doesn't do much anymore.
No, the last thing he did was they had a piece of DLC for the Ghost Recon Wildlands game where they brought back Sam Fisher and they brought back him as the voice because the last Splinter Cell game they changed voice actors.
Oh, okay.
So now they brought him back, and it's like, I mean, he sounds like he's drunk when he does the recording sessions, but hey, it's Mike Ironside drunk doing a voice. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Yeah, but I haven't seen him in a movie. I can't remember the last movie he was in.
No.
That I remember. I mean, he was like the leader of the Resistance in one of the Terminator movie with Christian Bale.
Oh, okay, Salvation.
Yeah, I remember that, but it was like a small part.
Yeah.
It wasn't a big. Oh, he was in The Machinist too. He was the guy who got his hand blown off by the machine.
Oh, he's also in Total Recall and Starship Troopers and a bunch of other shit.
Yeah,
well,
but
yeah,
he's talking about recent stuff.
Oh.
We're talking about more recent stuff. But he's also 70 years old. He's probably made his money.
Apparently,
I didn't know he was from Canada.
Oh yeah. Apparently, he's in the This Is Us TV series for one episode.
Oh, okay. Well, at least he's still doing it.
And a bunch of movies I do not recognize. Let's see, he's done a lot of TV work.
Yeah. I mean, he's basically a static guy. It's just Michael Ironside in role X.
Yeah.
He's always Michael Ironside.
He's in Knuckleball as Jacob.
Okay. So he's acting like Michael Ironside in a baseball.
Oh wait, I remember a movie he was in recently where he had a big role. Fuck. He's in a lot of shit. Jesus Christ. Where is it? Turbo Kid. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
Never
right.
heard of that.
That's a great movie. I mean,
really?
I don't want to say it's a great movie, but it's a good watch. Did you like Mortal Kombat?
I don't think I've ever seen that.
No, like the video game in general.
Oh, yeah.
Do you like the 80s?
Yeah, I kind of grew up in them.
Okay, Turbo Kid's your movie for you.
Oh, okay. So it's a movie about fighting in the 80s?
It's over
the top weird action.
It's an apocalyptic world where like all the stuff left over is from the 80s.
Oh, okay.
And then so it's sort of Mad Max, but there's no cars, so everyone's just on bicycles.
Well, sounds like an interesting premise.
And there's like a superhero, like is it Turbo Man or something like that, and he finds this glove and basically it makes him Turbo Kid, and just an absurd amount of absurdist violence.
Okay.
And Michael Ironside with an eye patch being the bad guy.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. This looks interesting. It's supposed to be like a comedy, action comedy.
Yeah, sure.
That's what it advertised.
I mean, it's funny. Like that's like the way like Mortal Kombat, the violence is funny. That's the same way with this.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think I remember a lot of jokes, but at the same time, I mean, it wasn't. I like the movie just fine. I wouldn't say I'd watch it again, but
yeah.
I know the only thing I know about Michael Ironside, other than his movie roles, is like he's actually a very tough person in real life.
Oh yeah.
Well, he's had stage 4 cancer of the prostate and something else. I forget what the other one was, and he's come back from it both.
Huh.
And they all said you got a pretty low percentage of living. It's like, I'll fucking show you. I don't know if that's what he said, but it seems like he survives. So,
but yeah, he wasn't. He was only supposed to be like a 1-day actor in this, and he's pretty much the movie. It's his movie because I don't really like the main guy too much.
Yeah, the main guy's a little empty and unbelievable. It's like, oh, this is a homeless guy, a transient kind of guy they pick up in the mall. He seems pretty well put together. But yeah, a lot of this movie was, like you said, it's like, oh, this was pieced together in a weird way. Because like some of the individual performances are fine, but they almost seem unrelated to the movie.
Yeah.
And the scanner abilities are like loosely defined.
Yeah.
They can attack people. They can attack each other. And
they can hack a computer.
Computer systems, early 80s, like phone freaking to the next level. They can make oil come out of a phone receiver. Burst into flames. So yeah, some of the stuff in this movie combine the worst ridiculous elements of like the Stephen King Firestarter movie and just a lot of other like weird road movies with telekinetics that people that are strangely found for no reason, caught, and then a bunch of people murdered, and and like no explanation. Like the woman in the movie, like I guess the love interest for the main character. Like, where does her abilities come from? How are they activated, and what does she do? It's like she fucks people up, but there's no real clear definition of what a scanner is, other than some kind of very powerful.
Their parents took ephemeral.
Yeah,
and the reason that the main characters are the strongest is because, well, apparently they're brothers, and apparently their mother was the doctor's wife, and then like he was feeding it to her while she was pregnant before this ever came out in the market.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, again, because like the Dr. Paul Ruth.
Dr. Paul Ruth. Yeah.
Yeah, he gets he seems to be like, oh, we've got the sub bad guy Michael Ironside, who's the over the top evil scanner who wants to take over the world with scanners and give all this medicine to pregnant women, and he like undermines their computer system and all this stuff. And then we have Dr. Paul, who's like seems like the overarching bad guy who just manipulates people, and then he just gets shot in the back of the head by the other guy.
Yeah, while he's talking to himself.
While he's gibbering and like, well, what
Project Ripe. It was awful. Bam. What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, what happened? Did they just like did McGowan's contract run out? Got to get this guy off set. An imperfect movie, but actually fun to watch as a nostalgia trip, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, there's some ideas there. I mean, there's a reason this got made. Well, I'm not sure if this is a straight to DVD or VHS series, but there's like 4 Scanner movies, and there's 2 Scanner Cop movies.
Yeah, and there's a Scanner TV series.
Oh, there was? Huh.
Yeah, it didn't. Well, none of the stuff ever took off. This is the only one. Because none of the rest of the shit involved Cronenberg.
Yeah.
It was like, we have the rights to it. We're going to make our own shit, which that like, never works out. But for some reason they keep doing it. But yeah, that was definitely it's just kind of like I said, kind of a disjointed but watchable movie. Bicarbon Amalgamate was the name of the company that was making Ephemeral, which is somehow related to the other company, Consec, which was a defense contractor / mercenary outfit.
Yeah.
It's like a weird, strange business relationships. And every movie from the 80s, the companies had those names. Because, like, if you remember Outland, it was Con Amalgamate was the corporation.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. This is all in the same era of. I think the writers just like they had 5 different names that sounded cool and futuristic, and like, yeah, let's just combine them randomly. See what goes on. Only Aliens had a good one, which was Weyland-Yutani. It's like, yeah, that sounds like a corporation that might exist.
I like Cyberdyne.
Cyberdyne was good.
What's it in RoboCop? Is that just Omnicorp? Yeah, it's Omnicorp.
No, Omni Consumer Products.
Oh, oh yeah. So yeah, the famous head blowing up scene. They made a dummy head. They made a bunch of different ones, but they had a wax one, a plaster one, but they didn't really work right. In the little documentary about the special effects, like there's this one guy. He's basically he's like a materials major and a chemist major, and he's like actually like does science to like make all this shit.
Yeah.
So they had like a kind of an intermediate head that wasn't exactly like it wasn't all one thing. It was some like a sort of a skull built in between, a thin skull, and then they just filled it full of all the shit that was just in the warehouse, like hamburger and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Cairo syrup and blood. And then but they didn't want to just like set off an explosion in the head because David Cronenberg didn't want to see the flash from the explosive, because then people know it's explosive. So they're trying to do it like pneumatically, but it would just basically just like blow up like a balloon. It wouldn't explode. It wouldn't explode, right? So that's when the guy got the idea. Is like, all right, we're just gonna shoot this with a fucking shotgun. So they shot it outside, because they were gonna just shoot it in that hall where the scene takes place, but then like isn't this shit gonna throw a bunch of things all over the place and we gotta clean it up? And like, yeah, it's like, all right, we'll shoot this somewhere else. So like it's like they mimicked the walls and stuff like that, and just they shot it outside, and then they told everybody to get inside the trucks while the guy rigged up a shotgun to shoot the head.
Yeah.
And it's just the dummy sitting in a chair, and there's just like a shotgun just sitting up right at the guy's head, back of the head.
Yeah, it was kind of it's like reminded me of Outland in a way. Like, oh yeah, this is people's heads exploding.
It's probably one of the most famous heads exploding scenes in cinema. So.
Yeah, well, it was popular with it's popular on SNL, like you said,
and with adolescents. Cause yeah, when kids when kids talk about this movie, it's like people blow people's heads off, and like, but that's like all they remember about that movie.
Yeah, it was like one scene. It wasn't even that long. I was like, no, there's a whole complex, nuanced plot.
But yeah. Yeah, probably lower on my list of all the Cronenberg movies, but I can see why it lands on the Criterion Collection. Mostly because most of Cronenberg stuff's in the Criterion Collection. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's something about it that's like, it's definitely, is it important in the history of cinema?
No.
I don't know.
No.
But is it?
But Cronenberg is, so.
Yes.
They've acquired all the rest of his movies. So. Yeah, because that's the only reason I saw Dead Ringers was because it was on the Criterion Collection.
That's a weird one.
Yeah, it's not like, I wouldn't say it's a great movie, but I don't know. It's a weird movie. It's a Cronenberg body horror movie. Yeah. Jeremy Irons does a pretty good job of playing twins, so.
Yeah, they said that was one of his better performances.
I'm not sure if they've done the Crash one yet.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if they've done a Criterion Click. That might have been done by a different. You ever seen David Cronenberg's Crash? Oh man, if you want. Well, I don't know if you want to see I mean, every David Cronenberg's a fucked up movie.
I haven't seen any David Cronenberg movie.
Have you ever seen The Fly?
No.
Oh. You ever seen Scanner? Oh no, not Scanners. You ever seen Videodrome?
Nope.
That's a good one.
I haven't made you watch that. You ever seen Naked Lunch?
Nope.
A History of Violence?
Viggo Mortensen, History of Violence? Yep. Okay, I've seen that one.
All right, you've seen David Cronenberg. Did he do Eastern Promises?
I thought he did.
Okay.
I only saw half that though because I couldn't stand that movie.
Okay, you're fine. I mean, the only thing about that movie is like the naked shower fight. It's like, that's pretty brave. You can't hide naked when you're fighting each other.
Yeah.
I don't think I got to that part. I just thought, I mean, not that it was a bad movie entirely. It's just I didn't care for it. So I think I only watched maybe half of it.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's that great of a movie. The only thing I remember from it was the naked shower fight. Because all right, that's bold and impressive, I guess.
Different, hasn't been done before.
Well, like I said, you can't any other fight scene you can hide armor, you can fake things, but if you're naked, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, it's hard to put squibs on someone.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming Viggo Mortensen was in that scene, correct?
Yeah.
But wasn't he also naked in History of Violence or something like that?
Yeah, probably. But there wasn't a whole fight scene.
No,
him being naked.
I'm just saying it's I know that they, those two movies they worked together and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I mean.
Yeah, he did the Eastern Promises after History of Violence.
I think my wife was more or less I actually liked History of Violence and I wanted to buy it. My wife was like, "That movie is stupid."
It's based on a comic book. It's kind of weird.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's that and Road to Perdition are two movies you wouldn't expect they're based on comic books.
Oh, speaking of books and movies, I found this fucking oddity of a book. I wanted to keep it, but it was sitting in fucking rat shit and dirt for 30 years, so I didn't. I never knew this needed to exist, but apparently there is a book for Back to the Future 2.
Okay.
Like a novel.
Like a novelization of it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It's why does this need to exist?
Oh, yeah, that's every movie has that.
I know, but at the same time, I was like, just watch the movie. and
I don't know what the appeal is to it, but I heard. Do you remember that movie Ultraviolet?
Yeah.
It's. I don't think I've ever watched all the way through, but it's largely regarded as terrible.
Yeah.
Directly.
And one of the things to say, they cut it down to a PG-13. It was supposed to be a hard R movie. So the director's always like, they took it out of my hands. So it's probably going to be a horrible movie to begin with. Either way, but I hear the novelization's really good because it gets into all the backstory that they don't explain at all, and so there's some interesting things about the universe.
I mean, I can imagine that. I mean, the movie had some interesting ideas as far as action and stuff like that. I think maybe the action at least would have been better with an R. The story still would have sucked ass.
Yeah.
And I mean, it doesn't say Mila Jovovich being a horrible, or I guess not horrible actress, not a strong actress. I wonder how she's gonna do as the villain or the main villain in.
So Monster Hunter.
No. Fuck. Blanking now. It's a. I swear it's a reboot of something.
Mila Jovovich. Okay, it knew what I was going for. Oh, Hellboy.
Yeah, Hellboy. She's gonna be the villain.
Okay,
yeah. And I mean, I like her. I like some of the movies she's been in, but I don't see her as a villain.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Not because she hasn't played one, just because I don't think she can act that well to be a villain.
Yeah, it's she's one of those actors. It's kind of I don't know if Harrison Ford's a comparison. It's I don't know if I like his acting, but I like him.
Yeah, that's totally fine. I mean, it's something where when somebody said that, I was like, oh yeah, I liked who they cast as Hellboy, and I liked who they cast as his father, the Doctor, whatever. That was a good casting. And it's seems like, because they said that movie's going to be more based around magic and not physical violence this time. So probably more of a CGI fest, unfortunately, even though it looks like they do good physical work for Hellboy's makeup. But there's just something about just certain things. I mean, just like the new Pet Sematary movie, that looks okay. Looks like it could be interesting for some of the cast choices, but also horrible from plot-wise. Because it looks like any other fucking horror movie that's been made.
PG or R?
I think it's R. Possibly.
That might be good.
I mean, you might as well. I mean, shit, dead kids walking around fucking killing people in the fucking books. If you're not gonna make it R, then why the fuck bother?
But yeah, David Cronenberg's Crash, not the other stupid Crash that won an Oscar.
Yeah, I don't like that movie.
So David Cronenberg's Crash, it's a movie where people intentionally and accidentally get into car wrecks and then have sex with each other.
Yep. It's really weird because some of those people are fucked up.
And at some point,
out of their sockets.
Yeah, and I think like Patricia Arquette like has a bunch of shit wrong with her. I think she has like a leg wound, and at some point the guy just has sex with her leg wound.
Yeah, there's weird shit like that.
No.
And they like recreate fucking who's that guy? He was in Giant, and they recreate the James D. crash, like to basically like as like some sort of like pornography, like. Oh yeah, this is where he crashed, and and then like it's like the people watching it are just like almost like getting off on it. It's like fucking wild movie.
That's really weird.
But I like it.
Well,
I rented that from the library. I don't know.
It's not that it can't be a good movie. It's just kind of like when somebody was writing this and shooting this, whoever thought like somebody's gonna really want to see this, and somebody's really gonna connect with this in some way.
I don't know. It's like Cronenberg likes to latch onto weird things and expand out on them. But I mean, he's made weirder movies. Videodrome's probably a weirder movie.
Yeah.
At least at the end. And then obviously Naked Lunch is probably one of his weirdest movies. You have
That's a weird novel too.
You have a typewriting cockroach that eats another typewriting cockroach. Existenz is pretty weird. It kind of got caught up in the Matrix hype because it came out around the same time. It's kind of similar concepts, but wildly different.
Yeah.
That one, there's a point like they're inside a simulation inside another simulation, and they're eating what appears to be an extraterrestrial, but while eating it, there's like bones and all that shit. Jude Law starts to assemble a gun from the bones and organs of the alien, and then he has a tooth gun that he shoots people with. It's pretty cool, weird, stupid.
Yeah. And it ends in a very weird way.
Oh yeah.
So what you're saying is there should be a Finger Anus Trigger Protocol movie directed by Cronenberg, but also ties in with Inner Space with Randy or with Dennis or whatever Quaid or not, was it Quaid? I can't fucking remember.
Randy Quaid or Dennis Quaid?
Randy Quaid.
Okay.
I remember
We need to get Randy Quaid back into the acting game.
And then also get Martin Short back, and then just have like a weird body horror inside movie. I mean, more physically violent than it was before, but then just go back to like he can only get out if the guy comes. his mouth or whatever, and then
I'm in your ball sack. You're gonna have to come to get me out. Oh yeah. But I can only come if I get in a car wreck.
But then it also like kind of like takes on the fly at the last second, because like you find that he gets like the machine gets big again, but through all the radiation makes him mutate and fall apart when he comes out. Is like, well, it felt good for me, and he like falls down and dies.
Was it good for you? Nope.
End of movie.
That seems like a Cronenberg movie. Yeah.
Need to watch Inner Space again. I just watched something the other day about that movie.
Watch a Cronenberg movie before you watch Inner Space again for the 9th time.
No, I've only seen Inner Space once.
Okay.
When I was a kid, I don't know.
Inner Space, right? Am I saying Interspace? I mean, it's Inner Space, right?
Yeah, it's Inner Space, yeah.
Is it like a Joe Dante joint? I can't remember who directed that.
I think it is.
Yeah. I vaguely remember that.
I'm surprised nobody's... I mean... technically, somebody kind of remade it at this point.
Yeah, it's Joe Dante. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of like a comedic take on, was it The Greatest Journey or whatever, or they have to save the president and get shrunk down and go on the.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called. It's like an incredible journey.
Incredible journey, or
yeah.
Where the white blood cell eats the bad guy.
Yeah.
Well, because originally, supposedly, like, according to that movie, like, Martin Short was supposed to be injected into Randy Quaid or whatever, not Randy, Dennis, whatever the more popular...
Dennis Quaid is the handsome one.
The one that isn't, like, a conspiracy nut that, like, fled to Canada
Dennis
with
Quaid.
his wife.
Yeah, the one that's not crazy. Yeah, that's... Or at least not obviously crazy.
The one that didn't fly a plane up into an alien mothership. That one. Like... But, I mean, that was...
Was it, like, originally, fucking... Goddamn, what's that? What's that movie with Tom Cruise where he's with Dennis Hoffman?
Rain Man?
Rain Man. Wasn't, I think originally that was supposed to have Randy Quaid and Dennis Quaid in those roles.
Really?
That would have been great.
That would have been fucking weird. I'm assuming Randy Quaid would have played the handicapped person.
Nope. No, you're right. Yeah,
I was gonna say that he seems more like fucked up and weird character type development.
Yeah, that's how it's pretty much.
I don't think he's played more straight laced characters, but he's never really played. You know.
I really liked him. Well, actually, I really like this movie. I think it's an underrated movie. Is Not Another Teen Movie.
Oh.
He just plays the funny alcoholic irresponsible father, which is now his life.
Yeah, I don't even know. I mean, is he in jail? Did he get fines?
I can't remember. Was he like trying to leave the country illegally?
Yeah, because he said people are trying to kill him and people are out to get him because he knew the truth about something or other, and I don't fucking know what it was.
Well, it was like him and his wife are both. Well, I don't. Crazy is dismissive, but they're crazy, or at least the media reports them as being crazy because of evidence.
To be fair, you might need to present your side of the story a little bit more eloquently to not come across as crazy. Instead of, I'm blacklisted from Hollywood because I know the truth and they're out to kill me. And that's why we're trying to flee to Canada without proper papers.
I won't do a Marvel movie. I just won't.
That's the only thing left to you. Do it. You have to be... Oh, there's like new shots of a couple weeks ago of like... fucking goddamn, what's his name? Jake Gyllenhaal in the Mysterio outfit for whatever Spider-Man movie.
Oh yeah, the second Homecoming or something.
Yeah, prom. Like, but no, I mean he looked pretty good in that. I mean, not that Marvel movies are like the end all be all of things anymore, but unfortunately they're kind of the more entertaining stuff that comes out half the time.
Quick aside, I want to pose you a question. Doesn't it seem like Kurt Russell and Dennis Quaid should have been in the same movie together and never have?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I mean, they pretty much play the same roles, but they should probably be in a movie together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They can still do it. I mean, shit.
I'm pretty sure they haven't been in a movie together.
Huh.
They're both still alive. Let's make it happen. I mean, it's just... What I mean, I don't know what the
Fast and Furious 10. I mean, he's still... Kurt Russell's still alive in that universe, right? Vaguely. He kind of gets... Well, he gets shot, and then he just gets picked up by, like, the CIA, and he's presumably fine.
So what's Dennis Quaid's role going to be? The other Black Ops guy? That's,
yeah.
Other Black Ops guy. Fight each other? Or should it just be
he just gets in there, and he just kills Clint Eastwood's son, and he's like, you're not a real actor.
Or should it just be Gay Overboard, where Kurt Russell and Dennis Quaid are gay and love for each other? I mean, because the other Overboard remake was pretty okay. It was better than I thought it would be, but it was still pretty bad.
Okay.
So, I mean, maybe you should just make it more up to date. Instead of gender swapping the roles, you should just totally swap the relationship into a gay one. With, one of the original actors and then somebody that was never part of the franchise to begin with. I mean, I don't know. Or you could make a Who Wants to Fuck Meg Ryan Now movie. Or something along.
It should be called.
I just want to rub the one tit that's bigger than the other.
I don't even think I've seen a picture of Meg Ryan for a long time.
No, not for a while. Well, she apparently had some botched surgeries, so...
Yeah, she was never that hot to begin with. But okay.
No, but she tried to like maintain whatever cuteness that she was living off of, and then like went wrong.
I almost imagine that she's almost like a '90s Renee Zellweger. I mean, my wife was showing me like Empire Records the other day, or like some of that movie, or whatever, and it was just like, you guys seen that movie?
Yeah.
That one part, like that one like. Classical like 80s glam rock guy is like showing off his video with like on the beach with columns and silk and models and shit, and I'm like, I have the feeling this is one of those 80s music videos that had a budget of $2 million. $100,000 went to the actual production, the rest was all cocaine. And cocaine related problems, because like how expensive is this movie really? A bunch of models, some silk and columns on a beach. It was just a bunch of reshoots and coked up parties for $1.9 million. But that movie, my wife seemed to hate it watching it again, and I have never seen it, and I thought it was actually kind of interesting.
It's kind of like a higher budget Clerks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, yeah. I remember watching when I was younger, and I kind of had an affinity for it because it was like, you know, a lot of '90s music in it, and it was like a lot of, you know, just young people just trying to throw out all their feelings into the world. But yeah, I imagine I feel like it'd probably be insufferable to watch now, maybe.
Well, I'm just amazed at how many people are in it, where it's like Renee Zellweger's playing like a slut or whatever, and it's like, yeah. It's like, I thought you had to. Well, technically, I guess nobody's stopped from being a whore, no matter how unattractive they might be. But I just always have found.
Well, I think she's. What is it? It's a movie called. It's either Freeway or Freeway 2, where she also plays a slut in that movie, and Kiefer Sutherland plays like a weird serial killer. It's not a good movie, but it's a lot of people you recognize in a really weird movie.
I think it might be Freeway 1. I think I've seen Freeway, but I thought it was fuck, what's her name? Reese Witherspoon.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm mixing them up then.
Yeah, and that's a weird fucking movie. That was like one of the first movies like my wife showed me that I'd never seen before, and I'm like, what the fuck is this movie?
Or if you want to see a really bad movie with a naked Nicole Kidman with a lot of famous people like Dustin Hoffman and Bruce Willis, Billy Bathgate is a very terrible movie.
And Nicole Kidman's not very hot. I think I can pass on that.
I was young Nicole Kidman. You get to see her bush, so yeah.
Yeah, back when women had pubic hair.
Because she's. Have you seen the trailer for her new movie, Destroyer?
Yeah, where she's the weird cop who looks like she's a meth head.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, it looks like a harrowing movie.
So she's doing the Charlize Theron monster turn.
Yeah, pretty. Yeah, kind of.
Being ugly but still a good actress to win herself.
Yeah.
Which I don't. I mean, I guess I don't have a problem with that, but at the same time, it's like I don't know how unpopular a move that was back when Charlize Theron did that. Because I know prosthetic makeup's come a long way as far as like making someone appear totally different than the way they are in real life. But I mean, Nicole Kidman hasn't done bad work. I think she's a good actress. It's just I don't like her as an actress.
She's done good work. I just hate her.
Like I just don't care for most of the projects she's in.
Yeah, she doesn't. She doesn't seem right for a lot of the movies she does. But there was like a time. I forget what it is. It's like she was the highest paid actress, but like she had the lowest return like on all her movies. It's like she's doing a lot of movies that she didn't help. But
I mean, like, what are the best ones she's known for? I mean, basically Days of Thunder, The Others, and fuck.
What was it, Dead Calm we did on here?
Maybe.
I'm not sure if she's known for that. That was just a movie we did on here.
There's like one or two others I feel like I'm passing up because I know she's been.
Oh yeah, Moulin Rouge. Yeah, I guess that's pretty big.
She was on all those boring movies Lars von Trier did.
Like Cold Mountain. Who doesn't remember that classic of Oscar-winning nothingness?
Oh, speaking of siblings and brothers, did you hear Dane Cook's brother got out of prison?
No.
Oh, I didn't know Dane Cook had a brother. So.
Yeah, it was his half brother that embezzled like I don't know $10 million.
Oh, that was his manager that did that to him.
Yeah, it was his half brother too, and he took the prison because they told him, it says, if you tell us where the money is, you won't have to go to prison. He's like, no. So he just took the prison sentence, and supposedly he has to make restitution, like he'll be on probation for 20 years. But I've read some weird websites where they speculate like he's got the money hid somewhere.
Well, he must. I mean, he must have thought it was pretty foolproof if he's like, no, I'll take prison.
Well, that guy and his wife went to prison for that. And it was a ridiculous amount of money. I didn't know Dane Cook made that much money.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
steal that and not notice it until much, much later.
Well, I mean, from what it seemed like what Dane Cook said, it was basically just like their family. He trusted them implicitly and didn't ask any questions. And, you know, basically he was very blindsided by it. So I guess that would make sense why he didn't really ask.
Because what he did, he was a comedian, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know he was really popular in like the early 2000s, basically, right?
Yeah, he's like he sold out like he's big on the college circuit and he like sold out stadiums and stuff.
Oh,
Okay.
I thought you were just gonna say he sold out immediately. He started doing every
well, I mean,
every
he got a lot of success, and immediately every comedian hated him.
Oh,
And and rightfully so. A lot of his comedy is not very good, but his first album I think is genius. But that's his first album. I've listened to his other albums, and they're just kind of like, whatever. It's a lot of energy, not a lot of content.
I just like the balls on the guy who's like, you don't have to go to prison for almost a decade of your life if you just tell us where the money is. You can, it's like, nope. I'm riding this one out.
I mean, it must be a pretty substantial sum if he's willing to spend a decade.
I heard something about it on a podcast and did research on my own a little bit. I was going to talk about it on the show, but it's all like just a lot of broad speculation. But I've heard like it's north of $10 million. And everyone's like, well, how could he get away with that? And it's like, well, if it's in foreign banks and he just disappears one day, then yeah, you're never going to get that kind of money. You can just become a new person and live in the south of France or wherever.
Him and Fan Bingbing? That's the chick that embezzled money for the Bruce Willis Air Raid movie?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're going to live together.
Yep.
My question is, how long do you have to work at McDonald's after getting out of prison to afford a plane ticket out of country and be able to use your foreign bank accounts?
I mean, if you got $50,000 buried in the ground somewhere, you get that.
True.
Get your false ID, and believe me, I've planned all this out. I just need the money. The one part of my plan that's never come together yet.
Is that you? I mean,
out in the back.
Now that everybody's got a fucking camera everywhere, from face recognition in airports and everything else, is it really even possible to just like fucking? I mean, yes, you don't have to leave by an airport. You can leave by a fucking boat. You can leave by, a train to, some other country in the continent or whatever and probably fucking never return. But at the same time, is it really that physically possible to just disappear off the grid that well anymore internationally?
Well, I mean...
How would you know?
I know. It's not like I'm talking to Black Ops people here, but at the same time...
Well, it's like if somebody fails at it, you're going to know. But there's got to be tons of people that are just unknowingly escaping the grid and you just don't know.
I mean, you can't live in a first world country and do it. It's very unlikely. But there's places you could live. And I mean, like, if all that facial recognition shit worked and everyone was mapped out like an enemy of the state, well, there'd be no terrorism. That's still happening. So
yeah,
apparently people are getting away with it. So
no, because I more or less asked because there's a popular movie gimmick between anywhere from like the next 3 days, or I mean, usually it's more set in the past and stuff that's been a little bit older than just recent movies, but it's always like, oh, we'll just easily flee to another country when we're wanted criminals. It just doesn't seem to really, I don't think that would really work that well anymore. And it's just not.
Well, the thing is that if you want to do trade with the United States, you have to have an extradition treaty with the United States. So if you're going to go to a country with no extradition treaty, you're going to be going to a hellhole. I mean, it's not places that are just so fucked up they're not affiliated with the U.S. in some way, or Europe or some other are usually just fucking lawless. It's like you can escape to the Democratic Republic of the Congo if you want to, but being just murdered is your thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think there's kind of a time limit on this of either being caught or murdered. Well, if you need to flee the United States. If you show up in
some rat hole country with like $10 million in a briefcase, I'm pretty sure you can't just go around like, I'll take that mansion over there.
Yes, sir. I'll put this bullet in your head first.
Quickly be robbed and murdered.
But yes, I think it's potentially, people can escape and go off the grid. Yeah, but once you have to do that, your life expectancy has to be short.
Well, I know. It happens so fucking much in.
Well, movies. It's like once you have somebody get arrested for a crime, it's like what are we gonna skip to 10 years later, or have some like, oh, the lawyers found a loophole, the cops fucked something up, and now you're out of jail. It's like it's you're trading either one what do you call it?
Scenario.
Well, it's a tired scenario. What did the fucking call it? You just said it.
Trope.
Yeah, you trade one trope for the other. So
I want to see the trope where it's your identical twin takes the fall for the crime, and then you get to live free. No, okay.
The only weird identical twin thing I ever saw was the two twins that were on the Maury Povich show, and they were both screwing the same girl, and they couldn't figure out who the father was because they were genetically. Like, and then both of them were like, it's not mine. It's they were both fucking herself. That's the closest you get in this stupid country. Like, just elaborate twin crimes where the genetics are the same.
Yeah, I wonder how the child support works out on that one, because how do you prove that the other one
doesn't? Because you can't prove it, because they're genetically identical. So
neither of them pays child support.
The taxpayers.
Middle fingers, baby.
Fuck that baby. Fuck you, baby.
It's like, it looks just like his father's.
You look just like your father's.
I mean, it's like you were talking to your dad. I mean, ultimately, the taxpayers lose, and all the Mexicans take our jobs.
And all the identical twins fuck all our wives and have a bunch of kids that we have to support. I mean, it happens all the time. I've heard it.
They turkey baster that shit all over town.
And then I'm a sucker, and I got a gun to my head, and I gotta suck one of them off. But if I suck the wrong one off, I die.
It's Schrodinger's cocksucker.
Yeah. No job scenario comes out. I hear that scenario enough, I'm just going to start asking the dude, do you just really want to suck a dick? We don't need to have all this window dressing. You can just do that.
Oh, sorry. I found one more tie-in to my stupid question about dick sucking with a gun to the head, so I'd use it.
No, it's fine.
I know. It's
a callback.
Yeah, it is.
It's a callback to earlier, happier, more
Plus,
prosperous.
I honestly am just pent up from work because I can't have any fucking sense of humor. And that's pretty much like 90% of my week. So it's just like, I can tell jokes.
There goes all my blowjob and sex material.
Well, it's just fucking something where it's like, I can't talk about religion, drugs, sex, anything even mildly amusing for the most part. I mean, my sense of humor is definitely more fucked up anyway. So
NASCAR Jesus is getting a blowjob.
NASCAR Jesus.
God, NASCAR Jesus is definitely still wearing sandals. But the question is, tank top or midriff cutoff t-shirt? I mean, I don't really know which one.
Well, I mean, he doesn't really have the guns, but he's got the abs, right?
Yeah.
So probably a midriff.
Yeah.
He's definitely rocking about the same hairstyle too. I mean,
but more molted. Mullet Jesus, yeah. NASCAR Jesus.
He's definitely got
midriff and Jesus though. Is you got to remember the old spear to the side on the cross. He's got to hide that scar.
Yeah,
he's got chicks dig scars, so he's gonna show that off.
He's definitely wearing a giant crucifix for some reason.
It's my I crucified this cross.
I mean, he's definitely got a half pack of Marlboros in his shirt pocket, and he's
a tattoo on his ass that says Tony.
He's definitely 5
on his knuckles.
He's definitely 5 beers into a 6-pack already, screaming about his woman at home and how much of a bitch she is. That's about. But also how saintly his mother is. It's a weird contradiction.
All right. Well, on that thought, I think it's about a wrap now. Well, I'm about ready to fall asleep. So, have anything else?
For next week, think about what NASCAR emblem that Jesus would sponsor.
Marlboro. Do
they still have all that? I mean, I know this was existed in the 90s and early 2000s. They still have a smoking rewards program where you get like fucking shit for turning in. Like,
no, I think they made that illegal.
Okay.
Well,
anything that resembles a contest or rewards around smoking, because it is the worst thing you can do except being fat. Fat is worse.
But yet there's McDonald's rewards programs.
Well, they haven't got to that yet.
Yeah, but they sell salad. You can technically go there and get water and salad if you want to.
Because that's what everyone's doing.
Yeah.
Give me a water salad and 40 McGriddles. Hey, wash this lettuce out of my fucking mouth with McGriddles.
Well, the weird thing is with fresh vegetables now, it's like you used to be like, what are you most likely to get sick from? Like the 11 Big Macs? It's like, no, that's not really food. But the lettuce, however, is absolutely crawling with E. coli. So.
Well, you know, you gotta be punished somehow for eating them correctly. Or semi-correctly.
Yeah. All right, well, this week for the American Greed Factory podcast, this is Nathan.
Conlon?
Andrew.
Goodbye, America.